Chapter 1757. Heaven and earth changed dramatically, and the void space rotated as if it was repeating itself. The projection of the universe appeared. The three scriptures were recited, the Tayin and the Taiyang. The two strongest scriptures of the prehistoric era explained the mysteries of heaven and earth and stimulated the void space to tremble, faintly returning to the prosperous time and space of prehistoric times. The Tayin and Taiyang belonged to the prehistoric mother scriptures of heaven and earth, the strongest scriptures of the universe. They stimulated Su Yan's primordial spirit and flesh shell to become dazzling and blazing. His figure surged with the mysteries of the beginning of all things, and the universe was blooming and releasing. The scene was extremely frightening. Yin and Yang worked together to recreate the universe. Su Yan's path was suitable for his Tao and Dharma. He was like the Overlord who opened up the universe, and all kinds of strange phenomena were born between heaven and earth. Wind, rain, thunder, lightning, metal, wood, water, fire, all creatures in the heavens, mountains and rivers, the sun, endless strange phenomena began to merge with Su Yan's aura, and they evolved into chaos. Su Yan's figure blurred, as if he was wrapped in a chaos cocoon. The overflowing aura was quite shocking, and it stimulated the void space to roar continuously. There was a prehistoric aura that kept spreading, as if it was burning, and it was about to materialize into a substance. What is this? The prehistoric Big Brother was startled. The void space was changing, as if the path to prehistoric times had been reopened. Vaguely, there was a heavenly power that crossed millions of years, and it suddenly pressed down, making it difficult for all of them to breathe. This is the prehistoric era, Fairy Zixia exclaimed. The environment of the celestial macro world and the void space can stimulate the prehistoric environment of heaven and earth. It seems that the void space is the best place to step into the supreme stage. This is related to the scriptures that Su Yan cultivated. Bao Kai and the others kept discussing. This was very important. Using the prehistoric environment to measure their level was very beneficial for cultivators. They could observe the grand layout of the celestial macro world and broaden their minds. Under the layout of the celestial macro world, Su Yan's figure was extremely blurry, and the chaos was about to explode. Suddenly, a celestial seed rose from the chaos. What was this? This was an immortal seed that had once absorbed the Chaos Cosmos Stone. The imprint on the immortal seed had been severed by the prehistoric Big Brother, and it had become a pure seed. This seed was naturally extraordinary, similar to an immortal source, flowing with the luster of order. This was but the natural lux substance of primal Chaos Cosmos Stone. It was seized by the immortal seed, taking root and germinating within the seed. Similarly, the primal Chaos Cosmic Stone had a great origin and should have originated from a supreme treasure from prehistory. It had fused with an immortal seed, so the value of this immortal seed was unimaginable. It contained unparalleled potential, and once it was fused with Su Yan's body, it could further strengthen his immortal path. At this moment, the seed fell and blended with the figure in the chaos. In the blink of an eye, the figure in the chaos became resplendent, as if it had crashed into the womb of the universe, crashed into the source of the great Tao of heaven and earth, crashed into the ocean of the universe. What a powerful seed of heaven and earth! Su Yan felt that his body had undergone a super evolution, and his physique had soared by a large margin. This was very frightening and shocking. Was the current Su Yan not strong enough? But his body had been refined once more, and it was as if he had undergone a leap forward in life. His pores spewed out thick blood-chi light, piercing through the vast void. Originally, Su Yan had estimated that even if he reached perfection in the immortal Tao and entered the supreme domain, it would be difficult for his battle strength to increase by much. But the immortal seed's power shocked him. It was as if it had fused with a strand of the universe's source chi, making him exceptionally powerful. He felt that his physique was so terrifying that it was about to transcend mortality and enter the divine realm. It was as if he was about to break through the ranks of Daozu. What kind of manifestation was this? It was truly unbelievable. Su Yin can't be trying to break through to the supreme realm, right? East Demon was shocked. Logically speaking, if Su Yin had opened the path of Daozu, there would have been a heavenly tribulation descending, but there wasn't. Moreover, the source environment that originated from the celestial great worlds didn't suppress Su Yin. This is an immortal seed that has absorbed the energy of the primal chaos universe stone. It would be strange if it wasn't terrifying. Looks like breaking through to the supreme realm together with a powerful heaven and earth Tao seed is also crucial. Bao Kai said with red eyes. They were about to break through to the supreme realm, but precious immortal seeds were too hard to come by. Although Su Yin had obtained the heaven-burying cave, there weren't any treasures inside at all. The seed in the 10,000 Arts Palace was also gone. The Tao seeds nurtured by heaven and earth were very limited and rare. Fusing with one would definitely bring about great benefits. Of course, even if they couldn't obtain it, it was still fine. It was just that the path would be a bit more difficult. Su Yan's manifestation was very different from the rest. His blood qi was vigorous and surging, and his body was truly like transcending mortality and entering the divine realm. His blood qi was too dense, and he was even qualified to compete with Daozu. It was really like his qi could swallow the starry sky, and he was extremely powerful. The old chief laughed heartily. The supreme realm could infinitely approach Daozu's level of physical body. His strength really hadn't changed. All the pores on Su Yan's body relaxed. An immortal Tao light gushed out. In an instant, Su Yan's figure became even more magnificent. It really was as if he was standing at the end of heaven and earth, standing in another era, standing in the prehistoric years, standing in the heavens, and then being nurtured by the primal chaos of the heavens. All of a sudden, he grasped the kind of extreme power that originated from the terrifying suppression of the prehistoric heavens. The suppression of the heaven and earth environment. Su Yin is about to step into Daozu. The miser roared excitedly. If this matter were to spread, it would cause a shocking earthquake. Once he broke through the suppression of the heaven and earth environment, Su Yin would become Daozu, transcending mortality and entering the divine realm. This was an extremely terrifying realm that controlled the great Tao of heaven and earth. No, he hasn't reached that step yet. The old chief shook his head. This didn't originate from the interrogation of heaven and earth, but rather a type of suppression of another kind, a heaven and earth suppression formed from the birth of the ultimate power of the immortal Tao. It was equivalent to clearly telling Su Yin that Su Yin had already reached the pinnacle of this path. Of course, this was only a manifestation. It hadn't completely suppressed him. This meant that Su Yin already possessed this kind of potential, and he only needed to accumulate a bit more to complete it. Even the great gate of the Daozu path was extremely close to Su Yin. In short, this immortal seed's help for Su Yin was too great. He already stood at the consummate level of the immortal Tao realm, which could also be called the supreme realm. Quickly look, a great Tao diagram has appeared on Su Yan's forehead bone. This is Su Yan's innate divine ability, supreme being great Tao diagram. The space between the brows of the figure that stood between the heavens and the earth was blazing. Radiance surged and resonated with the environment of the prehistoric heavens, causing his forehead to form a complicated and profound Tao diagram that was majestic and terrifying. Vaguely, a terrifying aura filled the air, causing the entire world to dim, as if it was buried in another universe. This was the suppression that originated from the supreme being great Tao diagram that flashed between Su Yan's brows. However, the great Tao diagram that appeared between his brows was a bit blurry and mysterious, and it didn't completely appear. What was this? The old chief was shocked. Su Yan's innate divine ability was too powerful. His current domain couldn't appear, and he had to step into the Daozu realm to do so. The second divine ability is related to my physique. Su Yan's emotions were also surging. This way, he could fully display the advantage of Su Yan's physique. Of course, he didn't know what this second divine ability would give birth to. He had once stayed in the heaven-burying cave for a long time. Although his heavenly embryo was damaged 1,000,000 years ago, and his life force was almost cut off, Su Yan still managed to climb back up and slept in the heaven-burying cave for another 30 years. He believed that his physique was already extremely powerful. Now, Su Yan himself wasn't strong enough, and it was difficult for him to nurture a second divine ability. This divine ability was also greatly related to his physique. What kind of divine ability would it nurture? He was really looking forward to it. Gradually, the strange phenomenon around Su Yan's body dissipated, and the turbulence in the vast void gradually calmed down. Su Yan stood between heaven and earth, and his flesh shell shone. He used the energy of the life spring from the heaven-burying cave to stabilize his realm and state. At the same time, Su Yan's absorption speed was astonishing. It was completely plundering. The life spring floating in the heaven-burying cave was the source of life of the immortal continent. The energy that flowed out endlessly penetrated Su Yan's body. He felt that his body was extraordinarily powerful, and he had endless power. Terrifying sounds of landslides and tsunamis also surged from his body, and he could easily destroy the world. The great circle of the immortal Tao, Su Yan had reached it. In that case, he was getting closer and closer to the Daozu. In fact, Su Yan had already grasped the suppression of the environment between heaven and earth. He wanted nothing more than to break through the limit and break through the Daozu's domain. One had to know that some supreme experts didn't have the courage to open the path of breakthrough even after accumulating for millions of years. After all, the next trial would be the interrogation of heaven and earth and the killing of the great Tao. Wanting to break through was too difficult. Moreover, the greater one's accumulation, the more shocking the great calamity would be when breaking through. The powerful Su Yan naturally grasped the heavenly might that originated from the layout of heaven and earth. It was as if he was facing the suppression of the great heavens, and it made Su Yan, who was standing here, somewhat pale. This calamity was extremely powerful and peerless. How could it be so easy to transcend mortality and enter the divine? Otherwise, there would be countless Daozu in the world. Although this world of nothingness is ruined, it still has the appearance of a prehistoric environment. Su Yan secretly said in his heart, perhaps one day, the appearance of a prehistoric environment can be restored. Billions of years had passed, and it hadn't been restored. What day would it be? He really couldn't say. Right now, they were in the nothingness. They had traversed the world for half a year, and they still hadn't reached the end of the nothingness. One could imagine how magnificent the appearance of a prehistoric environment was. At the same time, Su Yan discovered that the immortal seed couldn't be found. It had really fused with his body. He discovered that his body was also filled with all kinds of divine treasures. This was given to him by the immortal seed. In the future, once it bloomed, it would further excavate the immortal seed's unparalleled potential. Let's go, the old chief whispered. They had already wasted a lot of time. The golden turtle progenitor was already far away from them. The seven-colored turtle shell's lock was somewhat blurred. Let's go. Su Yan and the old chief joined forces and activated the heaven-burying jar. They used this supreme treasure to speed up and frantically reduce the distance between them. Without a doubt, with Su Yan's current strength, he could activate the heaven-burying jar consecutively. Their speed soared by a large margin. I'm back. On this day, the golden turtle progenitor returned to the undying heavenly domain. His lair was hidden very well. It wasn't in the core continent, but in a remote continent. There were hardly any traces of humans here. The main reason was that there were poisonous insects and scorpions everywhere. It was a desolate place with a ferocious aura surging. The golden turtle progenitor let out a furious roar. The entire continent trembled violently. Countless ferocious beasts trembled in fear, and a large number of them were also shaken to death. His roar was terrifying, and it opened up an extremely deeply hidden underground secret palace. At the same time, this secret palace shone like an enormous heavenly tortoise that was shining. It was unknown how many tens of thousands of zhang long it was, and its might shook the heavens, shattering many great stars. This was the golden turtle progenitor's lair. The mountain gate was protected by his Dharma body imprint. Boundless, ferocious aura gushed out, drowning the entire continent. When I recover, it'll be the time of your death. The golden turtle progenitor roared. He was very confident in his lair. There were countless treasures inside, all accumulated over millions of years. He didn't need 3 to 5 days. He only needed half a day to recover to his peak state. The golden turtle progenitor entered the lair. The mountain gate's resources were restored to its peak state. Even the experts in the distant continent were alerted. What's that? Following that, the world was shaken. One after another, experts descended from the heavens. Their destination was precisely the continent where humans were rarely seen. The 2 leading experts were somewhat terrifying. They carried with them an aura that could rend the heavens and rend the earth as they charged towards the continent. Su Yin and the others immediately unleashed their strongest attacks. The Xian people took out the 8 Daozu weapons and directly attacked the golden turtle progenitor's lair. Chapter 1758. Woo woo. A storm rolled in from the sky, covering the entire continent in a short period of time. Even though this wasn't one of the core continents of the undying heavenly domain, there were still powerful orthodoxies and sects in the nearby continents. Now, the strongest experts of these orthodoxies were terrified as they looked at the continent filled with venomous insects and scorpions. To them, this was a land of extreme danger, and they suspected that it was the lair of a terrifying being. But this forbidden land was in chaos. The energy ripples were too strong, shaking dozens of continents. The atmosphere in the direction of the source was incomparably stifling. Boom! The scene was too shocking. Even the sky was blasted apart, and time and space seemed to be cut apart. Great killing weapons. The spectators in the distant worlds trembled, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. They saw one great killing weapon after another, and they were all extremely powerful and intimidating. This was not as simple as 1 or 2 weapons. One after another, terrifying weapons came alive. These were the saint weapons, the weapons of the Daozu. They were extremely powerful, and they started to explode, causing the entire galaxy to tremble. Even the Milky Way in the sky started to fall. Heavens, the experts of these orthodoxies were shocked, and they found it hard to believe. What kind of race was fighting? What kind of terrifying trump card was this? They even suspected that the experts of the Supreme Sect were using a large number of Supreme killing weapons to break through this forbidden land. The divine might between heaven and earth was vast and mighty. The entire great continent, with surging vicious aura, shook violently. Countless poisonous insects and scorpions exploded. Kill! Su Yin and the others roared and unleashed their strongest attacks. Even the seal of the secret palace set up by the golden turtle primogenitor trembled, and a huge crack appeared on the huge heavenly turtle avatar. What a joke! These are the weapons of the 8 great Dao ancestors. In the past half a year, they had been refined by Bao Kai and the others. Each and every one of them wielded a great killing weapon, which was extremely ferocious. Anyone who saw the scene would turn green. In addition to the supreme treasures on Su Yan's body, a total of 10 great Daozu weapons had come to life. Who could compete with them? Boom! Hell's Mountain Gate began to crumble layer by layer, and the defensive power of the ancestral golden turtles began to crumble. Ha ha! Kill! The little azure dragon and the others laughed excitedly. They never thought that they would come to the golden turtle progenitor's lair. It seemed like the old turtle knew that it was on its last legs. If it couldn't find a place to recover, it would die of exhaustion in the void. Now, the weapons of the 10 great Dao ancestors had arrived and collapsed the huge mountain gate. One after another, terrifying figures rushed into the broken mountain gate, bringing with them terrifying waves of energy. The world within the sect was huge. It was a vast and beautiful land. Spiritual energy flowed like a tide, and the mountains were magnificent. The starry sky was dazzling. This was definitely a rare, blessed land, and it had an ancient presence that belonged to the era when the world was created. Moreover, the entire nest was filled with all sorts of dangerous auras. Resplendent symbols of the great Tao rose up from the mountains and rivers. This was the power of the Daozu. After a long period of time, it caused the nest to be extremely dangerous. Even if a supreme being rashly stepped into the mountain gate, they would definitely be obliterated by the environment of the ancestral golden turtle progenitor's lair. One after another, young powerhouses of the celestial court wielded the Daozu's weapons, isolating the suppression of the world's environment. The old leader occupied the space between heaven and earth, his flesh shell burning like a sacred furnace. His eyes were like golden suns, shooting out lightning after lightning, tearing apart layers of mountains and rivers. Soon, he found the place where the ancestral golden turtle progenitor resided. A huge chaos cave gushed out chaotic heavenly essence. Moreover, this chaos cave seemed to be breathing with life, crazily swallowing the world's spiritual energy. This also caused a vast energy tide to form inside the chaos cave. Boom! It was impossible for the old leader to give the ancestral golden turtle progenitor any time to breathe. His large hand rose up, covering the sky and turning into a huge five-fingered mountain. With a rumble, it pressed down, causing the chaos cave to shake. The sound of landslides and tsunamis could be heard from inside. Open! The old man roared out, releasing a terrifying strength. A giant palm imprint also scattered down, 10,000 strands of unmatched great Tao order forcefully blasting open a large hole in the primal chaos cave. An incomparably bitter and vicious aura gushed out from within. A furious roar exploded. It was extremely terrifying and shocking. The ancestral golden turtle progenitor had recovered some of his strength. Sound waves whistled out from the cracked chaos cave and rushed into the outer space, forming a scene of suns and moons being destroyed. From this, one could see just how abnormal the impact was. The outside world was shaken. This was indeed the Daozu's lair. The aura was too frightening. Along with the incomparably bitter fluctuations, there was also a thick, billowing smell of blood blooming. You all deserve to die. The ancestral golden turtle progenitor's eyes were about to split open. This was his lair. It was broken through so easily. He was also somewhat flustered in his heart, but he didn't reveal it. On the contrary, his aura became even more intense and blazing. Boom! In the end, the ancestral golden turtle progenitor's body was incomparably resplendent. A terrifying golden turtle was born. It was dyed in blood and towered into the starry skies. It almost filled the entire burrow world. Bao Kai and the others were shaken. This old monster's body was too big. It was so huge that it blotted out the sun. Its vitality was also exuberant. "You're just a paper tiger. What are you screaming for?" Su Yen rushed over. Cold lightning shot out from his eyes like a supreme war god who controlled the momentum of heaven and earth. His powerful aura overflowed in all directions. He was much stronger than half a year ago, and his aura was about to rush into the Daozu's domain. The old turtle has gone mad. He's ignited his life source and is preparing to fight to the death. Bao Kai saw through the clues and sneered. "You still want to scare us? This beast god is truly distressed. The fiercer you erupt, the weaker the effects of the turtle soup." The ancestral golden turtle progenitor was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. His entire body trembled as his blood-stained turtle body emitted boundless killing intent. He growled, "You bastard, I'm going to kill you." What made the ancestral golden turtle progenitor especially furious was that this old leader of the celestial court camp had yet to make a move. Instead, he was entrenched at the peak of the grotto heaven world. It seemed like he was preparing to let the younger generation of the celestial court kill him. Roar! He had really gone mad. He let out a furious roar. When a tiger falls, it will be bullied by dogs. You think you could be compared to a tiger? Su Yin closed in step by step and said coldly, "Old turtle, weren't you very arrogant? You even called Big Brother Little Brother. What are you pretending to be a wolf? Even Big Brother doesn't want to kill you. He ordered us to end your life." Boom! Su Yan's aura completely burst out. Under the support of the burying heaven cave, Su Yan's body's battle strength surged to the heavens again. It was almost touching the universe's limit. Although he did not have Daozu's Dao and techniques, his own strength alone was really terrifying. Kill! A great battle broke out. The whole continent trembled. One after another, great killing weapons were released. They were all controlled by Fairy Zixia and the others, and they attacked the ancestral golden turtle progenitor. This group of young people was crazy. They wanted to fight the seriously injured Daozu in close combat. The old leader did not dare to be careless. He entrenched himself between heaven and earth and paid close attention to the battlefield. This battle was naturally dangerous, but fighting with Daozu would be of great benefit to his future cultivation. Of course, the ancestral golden turtle progenitor was, after all, the most ancient creature in the world. How could he be willing to die? He burned all of his life force. The body of the golden turtle was like the most powerful killing weapon resurrected. Boom! A great battle broke out. It was very fierce and terrifying. Even the remote continents were surging with world-destroying waves, shocking all the experts who were paying attention. Who was fighting? Some people could vaguely see the blood-stained golden turtle. They couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. Could it be that the young experts of the Celestial Court were attacking the ancestral golden turtle progenitor? The sky was full of supreme laws and orders, one after another, all of them carrying the divine power of heaven and earth. Waves of the great Tao resonated with each other, forming an enormous oppressive force. Normally speaking, even an invincible supreme being would face death when faced with such an oppressive force. But now, the heavenly court's kings wielded great killing weapons one after another, shattering the endless pressure of order. During this process, they erupted with the most unmatched power, bringing out a series of treasures to attack the golden turtle primogenitor. Boom! The bloodstained tortoise seemed to have an immortal and indestructible body. It allowed this series of weapons to land on its shell, causing huge sparks to fly out. Its shell was too hard and simply indestructible. Its defensive power was frightening. Boom! However, in the end, the heaven-burying jar did all it could to be rotated by Su Yin, suppressing the blood-stained golden turtle. Even though its turtle shell's defense was frightening, it was still pierced through by the prehistoric Big Brother. Now, the bloody hole caused by the heaven-burying jar trembled violently as a terrifying force attacked the ancestral golden turtle progenitor's body. Kill! Bao Kai and the others roared. They operated the Daozu weapons with all their might to suppress the ancestral golden turtle progenitor, allowing Su Yin to bombard its wounds with the heaven-burying jar and attack its body. Roar! The ancestral golden turtle progenitor roared. This attack was so painful that its turtle body was about to explode. Its roar rolled and surged with a world-splitting light. A terrifying great divine ability bloomed as the heaven-opening technique was activated. This attack was naturally incomparable. Su Yin, who was protected by the heaven-burying jar, felt his body tremble violently. He felt like he was about to explode. Uff! Bao Kai and the others were coughing up blood. Their bodies trembled as they faced the might of their bodies and souls being destroyed. A starving camel was still bigger than a horse. It had to be said that even if the ancestral golden turtle progenitor was in a desperate situation, it was still powerful enough to shock the world. It would not be easy to kill it. The old chief almost could not hold himself back from attacking. But Su Yin was no weakling. The heaven-burying jar spun again and sprinkled down a vast rain of heaven-burying light, forcibly blocking the heaven-opening technique's power. At the same time, Su Yan's chi and blood surged. Heaven and earth trembled as his unparalleled potential was revived. His body was comparable to Daozu's, and with the support of the heaven-burying jar's energy, Su Yan's aura was terrifying and overflowing. Boom! He blasted out a punch. His shocking power flowed through the ancestral golden turtle progenitor's wounds and attacked its inner world in an instant. The blood-stained turtle body trembled violently once more as blood sprinkled down like a waterfall. Heavens! The people in the outside world were shocked. They saw Su Xianren go crazy. The heaven-burying jar worked with a series of treasures to suppress the ancestral golden turtle progenitor. Su Yan's entire body exuded boundless power. In a short period of time, he threw out 80 punches with a series of remarkable powers. Heaven and earth went berserk. Su Yan's pupils blazed as killing intent shot out in all directions. 81 punches were released in a spurt of energy. This scene was too wild and divine. It was hard to imagine that a young man had erupted. The entire great continent was trembling violently. Kill! Su Yan roared. He raised his fist and charged forward, pushing his most invincible power. He forcefully shattered the ancestral golden turtle progenitor's body. The entire great continent was dyed in blood, indicating that Daozu's creature was dying. Chapter 1759. Su Yan erupted with all his strength. Looking from afar, one could see a boundless strength filling the skies. 81 streaks of energy shot out in succession, vast and intimidating, majestic and massive, suppressing the entire continent. This shocking scene caused the entire continent to shake, rising and falling with it. It was hard to imagine. Su Yan had used such a shocking strength. It was as if Daozu had attacked, causing the golden turtle primogenitor's wounds to enlarge and attacking his main body. In a short period of time, Su Yan had gone berserk, causing the golden turtle primogenitor's body to explode. A boundless rain of blood sprinkled down, covering the skies. Su Yan stood in the blood-colored world. Exuberant energy beams gushed out of his pores, forcibly breaking apart the layers of bloody light that covered the sun. In the process, he also destroyed the blood essence that filled the sky. The golden turtle primogenitor exploded. Blood rained down like a sea, suppressing the souls of all the spectators. Then, an extremely bitter aura bloomed. In this blood-red world, a massive figure suddenly appeared. This was the golden turtle primogenitor's shattered body being reconstructed, carrying with it boundless fury. To the current golden turtle primogenitor, even if he were to die in battle, he would never die at the hands of Su Yan. Otherwise, this would be a great humiliation. In the process of reconstructing his body, he let out heaven-shaking roars one after another. The heaven-splitting technique was operated to the extreme, and the world was filled with terrifying killing intent. This was the blossoming of a great killing intent, sweeping through the 4 seas and oceans. The heavens and earth welcomed great changes. Unparalleled laws and orders descended, as if 1,000,000,000,000 mountains were pressing down. Kill! The kings of the celestial court roared. They controlled Daozu's celestial weapons and resisted the golden turtle primogenitor's berserk attacks, forcibly breaking apart the terrifying order in Great Dao. In the process, they also encountered a grave crisis, withstanding a terrifying pressure. But in the end, they endured. Bathed in blood, the Daozu weapons in their hands were dyed in blood. One weapon after another left their hands, suppressing the golden turtle primogenitor. In a world filled with the sounds of killing, gods and demons danced wildly as they fought bloody battles in the heavens. The kings of the celestial court fought a bloody battle against the golden turtle progenitor. The blood-soaked great continent trembled, and countless territories sank down, forming a scene of blood rushing into the heavens. It was a scene that shocked the heavens and made ghosts weep. It was hard to imagine that this was a bloody disaster brought about by a group of youngsters. This shocked the entire world. This was simply a group of unrivaled war kings. Their auras merged together, and with a series of great killing weapons, they once again attacked the golden turtle primogenitor. The golden turtle primogenitor cried out miserably. Right now, no matter how powerful and world-shocking it was, its injuries were still serious. Its blood and chi were declining, and it was far from being comparable to when it was at its peak. Now that it was faced with such a shocking suppression, the blood-stained tortoise body trembled violently once more, and it was about to disintegrate once more. The golden turtle progenitor, have roamed the heavens and earth for countless years. What kind of calamity have I not seen? What kind of calamity have I not seen? Now that I've been bullied by you bunch of ants and bugs, I can't accept this. The golden turtle progenitor let out a sorrowful cry. How could he be willing to die in battle? Stop praising yourself. You brought this upon yourself. Su Yin was furious. His aura merged with the energy of the kings of the celestial court, bringing with it a boundless pressure that caused the golden primogenitor's tortoise body to shake violently. At this moment, it was already on the verge of collapse. It was completely unable to withstand the impact of the rampaging energy of the heavens and earth. Its blood-stained tortoise body was about to explode a second time. At this critical moment, the golden turtle let out a loud roar. Its golden tortoise body burst into flames, and endless tortoiseshell characters rained down. Kill! Su Yin roared as he pressed down with the heaven-burying jar. Although these tortoiseshell characters possessed shocking defensive power, in the face of such a situation, no matter how strong the golden turtle's defenses were, they were unable to do anything. It didn't have any effect at all. The entire world was filled with large cracks. The once insufferably arrogant golden turtle, whose words carried great weight, was now trembling. The tortoise-shell characters covering its body collapsed. Even though it was burning Daozu's foundation, it was still useless. The heaven-burying jar was already the ultimate killing weapon of this world. With this treasure here, the golden turtle had no power to reverse the situation. A bunch of stinking bugs. I can't accept this. I can't accept this. Daozu's sorrowful roar exploded between the heavens and earth, echoing in one great state after another. Countless people fell silent. The invincible giant had been defeated and killed by a group of young people. The golden turtle, who looked down on the world, was truly unwilling to accept this. In such a situation, it would have been better if it had fallen at the hands of the prehistoric Big Brother. It was too late to say anything now. The golden turtle could no longer hold on. Old beast, you bullied the celestial court. Now you're pretending to be pitiful. No one will sympathize with you. The old leader was enraged. In the Battle of Tianyang State decades ago, the golden turtle harbored malicious intentions. It wanted to force the celestial court to hand over the item taken away from the Emperor Road's final destination. Unfortunately, it did not get what it wanted. However, this old thing did not give up. It felt that the prehistoric Big Brother was not giving it face, and it sent its son to kill Su Yin. Now, not only had its son been killed by Su Yin, but the golden turtle was also facing the misfortune of being killed by Su Yin. Boom! The heavens and earth exploded. Sand and pebbles were sent flying. Blood surged as the aura of the giant's death continued to spread. Everything came to an end, and the most terrifying attack arrived. The golden turtle primogenitor's protective divine light exploded, and its blood-stained tortoise body was also torn to pieces. Its enormous body quickly lost all signs of life and fell to the ground, creating a large crater. Su Yin and the others rushed over. They looked at the golden turtle's lifeless body and breathed a sigh of relief. It was finally dead. Clean up the battlefield immediately. This is not a good place to stay. East Demon whispered. The commotion here was too big. Once the news spread, the Lord of Hell and the others would definitely rush over. This is the golden turtle race's Daozu creature. Bao Kai's saliva flowed out of his mouth as the group approached. However, just as they were about to reach the arch-ancestor of the golden turtle, the arch-ancestor's eyes snapped open, and within them was a venomous gleam. A bunch of smelly bugs die. Suddenly, the The heavens fell and the earth cracked. Ghosts wept and gods howled as a terrifying primordial spirit power was released. One after another, the kings of the celestial court were struck by lightning. The entire sky was filled with a soul storm. The golden turtle had brought out its strongest primordial spirit attack. It wanted to destroy Su Yin and the others in one go. Boom! However, it did not get its wish. The old leader who had been watching covetously suddenly attacked. Its forehead burned brightly, sputtering out layers of primordial spirit power. With a bang, it suppressed the golden turtle's primordial spirit attack. Even so, the area was completely shattered. The miser's back was drenched in cold sweat. This old monster was truly sinister. It was already dead, but it did not forget to leave behind a killing move to finish them off. Poisonous, too poisonous, the bout-sized mouth was wide open. It did not dare to approach rashly, fearing that other things would happen. The old leader approached in an instant. His powerful primordial spirit power leaked out, probing the golden turtle's body. He found that the spiritual energy in its body was rapidly dissipating. This caused his expression to change slightly. It died, but it did not want to leave anything behind. It seems that this old turtle died with grievances. It would not be enough even if it died 1,000,000,000 times. Fairy Zixia clenched her teeth. She recalled the tragedy at the origin of life in the void. Countless creatures were killed by the golden turtle. This old turtle was an old poisonous creature. No matter. Su Yin directly took out the sky-burying jar and sealed the golden turtle's body inside and out to prevent the spiritual energy essence from leaking out. This was a great tonic. Even though Su Yin had gained a lot from the Xian people, the golden turtle was different. It could be called a peerless tonic. This thing could make them strong for a short period of time, especially for Bao Kai and the others. It could accumulate a shocking amount of resources. Su Yin also felt that it could help strengthen the accumulation of the supreme domain. The golden turtle is nursing a grievance. Anyone could feel that the tragic aura above the fierce continent had dissipated. This was the aura of life covered by the sky-burying jar. The whole world was shaken. Once this news spread, it would definitely cause a terrible shock. A group of young people from the Celestial Court had slaughtered the world's most ancient Daozu creature. The whole world was bound to tremble. Su Yin and the others plowed the courtyard and swept through the cave, quickly cleaning up the battlefield. Although the world inside the mountain gate was very big, according to Su Yan's judgment, this was a cave within a cave. The inside was like a small world. This was an extremely rare, chaotic cave. The inside was filled with the aura of creation. This was a treasured place nurtured by the heavens. It was difficult to find another place like this in the world. Su Yin naturally wouldn't let it go. He had already begun to investigate the surrounding environment. He was ready to uproot the chaos cave and take it away. The world inside was filled with the aura of treasures. The whole world was filled with countless rare treasures. They were all piled up on the ground. Not to mention all kinds of rare medicines. The golden turtle was the world's most ancient creature. Its nest was enough to make the prosperous, immortal orthodoxies jealous. Once it was conquered, it would be enough to squander for tens of thousands of years. Of course, there were also countless limited grade treasures. There were really too many of them. The old leader's eyes widened. He shook his head and laughed when he saw Bao Kai, who couldn't walk anymore. Hurry up and clean up the battlefield. We're rich. Eastern Demon Lord sighed. They had really struck it rich this time. They even found 2 rare treasures needed for the level 9 life essence evolution fluid. These things were too precious. Heaven and Earth Dao seeds. Fairy Zixia's eyes widened. They had dug out 12 Dao seeds in the cave. These were top-notch resources enough to make the immortal orthodoxies go to war. Heaven's splitting technique. Of course, there was also a shocking divine ability. They had finally found it in the turtle's nest. Su Yin had originally thought that there would at least be an ultimate treasure medicine in the golden turtle's nest. But he was disappointed. This thing was not cabbage. There were only a few of them in the entire universe. Back then, the Xian people were already very lucky to be able to harvest the Daozu tree. An underground river. No, an underground river of spiritual qi. It has already turned into liquid. Heavens, this is a shocking treasure liquid for a foundation establishment. Little Azure Dragon exclaimed. He dug out a piece of soil and found a giant underground river. Who knew that upon closer inspection, it was a natural and nurtured spiritual liquid. Although it wasn't very useful to them, this thing could be used as the source of life for a tribe to rise. In short, the treasures in the golden turtle's nest made Su Yin and the others gasp in amazement. They felt as if they had conquered the treasury of a great sect. It was really a great harvest. Chapter 1760. As the Chaos Cave was uprooted, the entire continent was in ruins. Heaven and earth essence dried up, and the mountains and rivers cracked. Dust and smoke rose from them, not dissipating for a long time. The spectators outside were silent. Was it over? The world was filled with dust and the stench of blood, forming a destructive storm that didn't dissipate even after half a day. Finally, a group of brave experts rushed in, rushing into the golden turtle progenitor's lair that was riddled with holes. Su Yin and the others left in a hurry, taking away 99% of the treasures in the world. Even a chaos cave was uprooted. But even a small portion of the treasures they did not have time to harvest made the eyes of the experts turn red with envy. None of them dared to make a sound, and they silently made a fortune. Some people stared with wide eyes. How great was the harvest of Su Yin and the others? Even the things they left behind were extraordinary. This also showed that their harvest was too shocking. They had obtained the accumulation of the golden turtle primogenitor over millions and millions of years. The amount was enough to make the peak sex turn red with envy. It was hard to imagine how many good things they had obtained. The most important was naturally the flesh and blood essence of the golden turtle primogenitor. It was a supreme tonic. The bleeding continent was also in chaos. Many experts who had sneaked in to dig for treasures fought with each other, their eyes red with envy as they fought over some of the spiritual treasures. Some of the experts who knew when to stop retreated. Their harvest was already shocking enough, and they were worried that something unexpected might happen. This was related to the golden turtle primogenitor. If its lair was not located in a remote continent, it would have caused an even more terrifying storm. The golden turtle primogenitor is nursing a grievance. Several days later, the news spread throughout the undying heavenly domain, causing a huge commotion. The world's most ancient creature had been killed, and it was done by the youths of the celestial court. It had to be said that it had shaken the world. The experts of various sects all rushed over. Looking at the devastated primogenitor lair, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. They received the news too late. The current golden turtle primogenitor's lair had already been rummaged through by a group of people dozens of times. All the good things had been dug out, leaving behind only a wasteland and a ruined territory. The impact of this matter grew bigger and bigger. At that time, many experts had been paying attention to the battle. It was very clear that from the beginning to the end, it was a group of young people from the celestial court who had acted. There were even shocking news that Su Yin was even stronger than half a year ago. Some people even suspected that he had stepped into the quasi-Daozu realm and was getting closer and closer to the magnate realm. He was once the only honorable in the Emperor Road. Now that he had gone further and further, he had become more and more terrifying. They realized that the gap between them and Su Yin was very wide. Without a doubt, Su Yin, who had killed the golden turtle progenitor, was the main force behind this. Will it really come true? Some people exclaimed in surprise. They recalled the words of the prehistoric Big Brother. Leave the matters of the younger generation to the younger generation. Did he want to see the rise of Su Yin in the future and settle the grudges of the celestial court millions of years ago? This courage was too great. Wasn't he afraid of slapping his own face when the time came? After all, how many years had Su Yin been growing up? How could he be compared to the ancestors of the Xian people? Even if he had killed the golden turtle progenitor, They knew that the golden turtle progenitor had been severely injured by the prehistoric Big Brother. Regarding this matter, the experts of the myriad sects did not dare to speak carelessly. The underworld was very strong. They had a group of terrifying primogenitor overseeing them. How could they be wiped out so easily? At present, the undying heavenly domain was in chaos. Some of the pinnacle races would meet each other frequently. The Black Calamity would come again. They had to be careful. According to some rumors, some races were already preparing to retreat to the undying heavenly domain and hide in the void to avoid the calamity. This matter caused a huge commotion. The pinnacle sects felt that there was no hope. The future of the undying heavenly domain was filled with uncertainty and fear. Time passed quickly. A year's time had passed. The atmosphere in the undying heavenly domain was very stifling. Some people noticed that the younger generation of the various great sects were growing faster and faster. This was obviously the result of integrating the resources of the entire race to cultivate the young geniuses with extraordinary potential. The universe could be destroyed at any time. What was the point of preserving these resources? The world was changing. The terrifying creatures returned to their dormant state, wanting to grow stronger. The younger generation was starting to take control of the situation. The environment of the undying heavenly domain had changed. It was now the world of the younger generation. The great era was coming. The older generation could feel that the environment was starting to relax. It was easier for them to break through. However, this feeling made them even more terrified. The Black Calamity was coming again, washing the world with blood. I'll leave first. You guys train yourselves. Be careful. The old leader set off, bringing back a batch of materials for the Level 9 Life Essence Evolution Fluid. In this 1 year, Fairy Xia and the others improved tremendously. With the help of the golden turtle progenitor's flesh and blood, their strength had increased tremendously. Su Yan's cultivation in the supremacy realm had also improved. This 1 year's time was definitely equivalent to 100 years or even 1,000 years for ordinary people. After all, they had devoured too many good things. It's time for us to set off. Let's hope that everyone will be in the supremacy realm. East Devil and the others also set off in batches, exploring the void. Right now, they were all young hegemons who could look down on their territories. They no longer wished to be protected by the elders of their clans. They wanted to adventure alone in the boundless void, seeking their own paths for the future. Bao Kai and the others' goal was to step into the supremacy realm as soon as possible. As for Su Yin, he wanted to reorganize his own path and break through the Daozu realm. The Heavenly Sea realm. This was a universe with a lower cultivation standard. It was similar to the Xianhuang universe in the past. To Su Yin, the experts in this realm were too weak. Furthermore, they were restricted by their growth environment. What was the scariest growth environment in the universe? Who could say for sure? Perhaps the immortal world was the limit and peak. What is the universe? Su Yan's figure was a little lonely. He walked through some of the pure cultivation lands in the Heavenly Sea realm and some bustling ancient cities. He was like a lonely traveler, a passerby in the bustling world. His hair was disheveled as he suddenly asked this question. He walked the path of a body like the universe. Suddenly, he had some doubts about his own path. What was the universe? It could give birth to all life, create disasters, and give birth to experts. However, it was a life form of this realm. There was definitely a limit to its growth. How could it grow into an expert that was more terrifying than the universe? Although the cultivation standard of the Heavenly Sea realm was very low, Su Yin found some clues about the prehistoric environment as he wandered the birthplace of life. Some areas were discovered and explored by the experts of this realm and were listed as forbidden zones for life. At the same time, there were also top experts of this realm who explored the mysteries of these areas. Su Yin came. He walked through the entire Heavenly Sea planet and explored all the prehistoric ruins. His aura was changing, becoming more ancient and mysterious. It was as though he had returned to prehistoric times, comprehending the appearance of the prehistoric environment and the majestic power of the prehistoric universe. Suyin was just a passerby. He stayed on the heavenly sea planet for a year before leaving. The void was vast. Although it was cold and desolate, Suyin could detect the aura of prehistoric times. It was as though it was undergoing a special return. Suyin wandered through the void. He encountered void storms, terrifying forbidden zones for life, and explored prehistoric ruins. His gains were great, but he also encountered life and death dangers. It was a vast journey without a goal. Years passed by one after another. Suyin went to many places. His footprints were all over the big and small universes. He was a lonely wanderer who did not leave behind any glory. The further he went, the more Suyin felt that the prehistoric environment was too magnificent. It was unimaginably majestic. It was as though the long river of time was pressing down on his body. Similarly, Suyin also found many prehistoric civilizations in some worlds and learned some prehistoric mystical powers. Although they were not very strong, and his gains were not great, this long journey deepened Suyin's understanding of the heavens. 10 years later, Suyin came to the origin of a special life form. He was extremely shocked. This was a world without gods and devils. Countries fought for hegemony, soldiers killed each other, and the flames of war burned the plains. The common people suffered. The law here was the same as in the cultivation world. The strong preyed on the weak. Suyin was entrenched in the outer space and looked at the origin of life. In his eyes, this world was very small. It was like a speck of dust in the void. However, to mortals, the world was too big. Even a powerful war god would find it difficult to conquer the entire world. A person's lifespan was only 100 years. No matter how powerful and glorious the emperors were, their time of glory was just a snap of the fingers for cultivators. Suyin's eyes burned. They were deep and terrifying. They spewed out terrifying light as he looked at the origin of life. He discovered to his surprise that the history of this world was only 1,000 years. This origin of life had only been born for 1,000 years. In his eyes, this origin of life was shrinking as if it had turned into a seed. When the seed bloomed and broke out of its shell, it gave birth to all life. However, there was no order of the great Tao. It was like a barbarian growing up. The beginning of all things. Suyin's figure suddenly became majestic. He turned into a barbarian giant. His strength reached the heavens. Although there was no Tao or law, he was strong enough to create his own Tao, law, and law. He could create his own world. Suyin was silent in the void. His figure floated in the void like a meteorite. Time passed just like that. 1 month, 3 months, 1 year, 2 years. Gradually, the figure that floated in the void was originally cold and lifeless. However, he gradually gained vitality. Even the void resonated with the space-time. This starry sky started to glow with vitality as Suyin awakened. It was as if the appearance of the universe was about to be born. Boom! This was the birth of Tao and law. It spread in the nascent universe. Yin and Yang coexisted. All things were reborn, and the universe was rebuilt. Suyin's figure was blazing. It was unprecedentedly powerful. It emitted resplendent light that illuminated the world of nothingness. It was as if it illuminated the prehistoric world in a corner of the heavens. A terrifying pressure was born in the sky. It came from the past and crossed billions of years to press down on him. Suyin's body was heavy. It was as if he was carrying billions of stars. It was difficult for him to move. He felt that the world's pressure on him was getting stronger and stronger. It was as if he was being locked by heaven and earth. Of course, this wasn't a true suppression. It was the binding of the great Tao. One after another, it was as if he was being locked by billions of true dragons. Almost 20 years had passed. Suyin felt that he was standing at the peak of the supreme realm, the pinnacle of the immortal path. But what was the complete universe? Suyin still couldn't understand. The path ahead was blurry. It was also suppressed by the extremely vast world. It covered Suyin's heart and mind. His thoughts couldn't be clear. Several years passed. Suyin saw it. It was the origin of life. It shocked him. It transcended the scope of the universe. It was as if it was a universe on par with the heavens. It was invulnerable and indestructible. Was this still the Xianhuang universe he knew? At this moment, it was powerful and flourishing. Undying matter gushed out. At the same time, Suyin also sensed an unusual aura. It was as if he saw the back of the ancient celestial emperors. They towered above the Xianhuang universe and arrived at the peak of the heavens. The universe is life. It is also the land of reincarnation of life and death. Su Yin muttered. An imprint flashed between his brows and resonated with the Xianhuang universe. His body and mind suddenly became vast. It pierced through heaven and earth. Su Yan's body also seemed to have transformed into an immortal chrysalis. He was about to complete his evolution because he saw Daozu's path. He saw the leap of life. Who is it? A group of experts in the Xianhuang universe were alarmed. In particular, Elder Tianyang looked into the outer realm. His spirit was astonished. He saw a figure that began to blaze and become terrifying like lightning. It wasn't Daozu, but it surged with power that wasn't inferior to Daozu's. Chapter 1761. Su Yin did not suppress his aura and unleashed it in all directions. The aura he emitted was too strong, exuberant and surging. He was like a supreme god of war that was as tall as the heaven and earth, illuminating the world. It was also like a condensed sun that bloomed in the outer space. Of course, the most powerful was the blossoming of his Tao and technique. After 20 years of silence, he woke up in a single day. With a single breath, the sky turned gloomy, and with a single breath, the sun and moon were destroyed. It was a terrifying manifestation. When Su Yin breathed, the universe rumbled, fluctuated, and shook. Everything was pushed by the terrifying power born in Su Yan's body, shaking the universe. The whole world was shocked. Although the mysterious yellow universe was recovering to its former glory, the living beings in the universe were still not that strong. Now, the living beings in the universe were trembling in fear. They could sense the aura that filled the outer space. It was terrifying and blazing. Even the mountains and rivers were emitting thunderous sounds. It's God of War Su Yan. All of a sudden, someone shouted. He could not forget Su Yan's aura. It was definitely him returning. He shouted, "It's God of War Su Yan. He's back." Huh? The whole world suddenly became silent. Then it was filled with thunderous cheers. Countless people were overwhelmed with emotions. They roared toward the sky. They were incomparably excited. God of War Su Yan, human sovereign Su Yan, he's back. Is it really God of War Su Yan? Is it really him? It's definitely him. I can't forget his aura, but I can't forget God of War Su Yan's aura. The living beings roared, cheered, and shouted. The group of old men was unrestrained. They waved their flags and shouted. 100 years ago, the 10 undying saints of the mysterious yellow universe fought against the enemies from the outer space. Su Yin was buried in the darkness. Who in the world could forget that? However, he came back from the dead and crawled out of the darkness. He went to the undying heavenly domain and became the supreme of the monarch ranking. He was invincible in the world and had the confidence to challenge Daozu. A shocking piece of news had been circulating in the Xianhuang universe over the years. Su Yin was even more terrifying and invincible than the legends said. Now that they saw the human sovereign again, they were so excited that they cried out. The entire Xianhuang universe was in chaos. Su Yan's rallying power was too strong. This was the place where Su Yin rose to prominence, and it was also the origin of his life. Although his life roots were prehistoric, this was his hometown. It was now, it would be in the future, and it would be forever. I'm back. Su Yin couldn't help but laugh. He was entrenched in the outer space, and his figure was blazing. His body, which had been silent for 20 years, was too glorious and brilliant at this moment. He had seen through the road of the future, and the Tao ancestor realm was close to him, less than the little true immortal, who had imparted a portion of the complete Sun Mother Sutra to him, was now comparable to a Tao ancestor. This left old man Heavenly Sun speechless. It was unbelievable. Was he really supreme? Even if he was an invincible supreme, how could he release such terrifying pressure? He was like a supreme who ruled the world. He was almost comparable to Daozu, who controlled the great heavenly Tao. It had to be said that Su Yin was very strong now. Although he gave up the foundation of the Heaven Burial Cave and couldn't fight with the veteran Daozu, he was still a supreme. Once he broke through to the next realm, it was hard to imagine how strong Daozu would be. Kid, it's been 20 years, and you still know to come back. The 9th grade life essence evolution fluid is almost complete. Bao Kai rushed out. The 9 continents' heaven cauldrons floated above Bao Cai's head and poured down a vast energy rain. Bao Kai had also become a supreme, but Su Yan's path was further. Bao Kai had a special fondness for the 9 continents' heaven cauldrons. Now that Su Yan had many treasures on him, he gave the 9 continents' heaven cauldrons to Bao Kai. Su Yan is about to step into Daozu. Bao Kai was shocked. The gap between a supreme and a Daozu was huge. This kind of person only needed a chance to break through and become an invincible saint. I thought I was the best to return. I didn't expect Su Yin to adventure in the void for 20 years. The East Devil and the others had returned. They had trained in the void for more than 10 years, relying on the golden turtle. The resources they obtained from the primogenitors layer all rushed to the supreme realm. However, compared to the current Su Yin, they paled in comparison. How could the Daozu path be so easy to comprehend? One had to comprehend the great Tao thoroughly, pry into the essence of the great Tao of heaven and earth, and see through the origin of the universe. Only then could one approach this stage. Moreover, Su Yin cultivated the 3 great scriptures. If he wanted to see through the Daozu path, it would be dozens or even hundreds of times more difficult than an ordinary person. The 9th level life essence evolution fluid is about to mature. Su Yin was greatly shocked. At the same time, he attached more importance to this thing. The 9th level life essence evolution fluid was related to the evolution of the universe. This could completely corroborate the great Tao that Su Yin was seeking. Su Yin had only settled down for 20 years since he stepped into the Supreme Realm. The next stage would require him to endure the interrogation of the great Tao of heaven and earth. He had to make sufficient preparations before he could break through. Moreover, the more he accumulated, the more terrifying the interrogation of the great Tao of heaven and earth would be. If he had the 9th level life essence evolution fluid, his chances of success would naturally increase by another level. Of course, there was also the Daozu tree. This tree had matured a long time ago. When the old leader returned, he also brought this tree with him. After all, the Daozu tree had the mark of the Xian people's ancestors. He had to find a way to cut it off before he could use it. With the Daozu tree and the 9th level life essence evolution fluid, the old leader and the others were very much looking forward to seeing how terrifying Su Yin and the rest of the young generation's strongest seeds would be once they broke through. The black-yellow universe was in an uproar. Although the structure of the black-yellow universe had only been partially restored, it was believed that the level of evolution of the black-yellow universe in the future would be even more shocking. However, this would take a long time to complete. The progenitor also changed greatly. The blue planet was filled with boundless vitality. Su Yin also discovered that the unique aura of the black-yellow universe originated from Earth. Brother, you still know to come back. Su Bingshuang's emotions were out of control. It had been 100 years since the siblings met. I was delayed by some matters. Su Yin smiled. His eyes were a little moist. Looking at his old friends around him, his emotions were surging. It felt good to be home. Old Lei and the others were all here. Their emotions were very complicated. Hundreds of years had passed, and it felt like a dream. They all felt that it was a little unreal. Su Yin, who was far away from his homeland, had returned, and he had achieved glorious results in another universe. 100 years ago, a piece of the undying heavenly domain could have crushed them to death. The current Su Yin was already an overlord who could swallow the entire world. Old Lei, is this still the disciple you made things difficult for back then? Xiaozhe said half-jokingly. This made Lei Lao's face turn red. However, he felt that emotions were spreading in his heart, and he was about to burst out laughing. Even though Su Yin tried his best to suppress his aura, he still couldn't stop the immense pressure from spreading out. Xia Jingang couldn't take it anymore, and he laughed heartily. "Good brother, you're getting stronger and stronger. When are you going to bring us to the undying heavenly region?" When these words were said, the atmosphere was a little heavy. There were some things that Xia Jingang and the others didn't know, but Yin Emperor and the others had gone to the undying heavenly domain a few days ago. The undying heavenly domain had entered a chaotic era. There were endless conflicts everywhere, and many orthodoxies had even retreated to avoid the disaster. Yin Emperor and the others estimated that the undying heavenly domain would undergo a great change soon. The Emperor Road had merged with the undying heavenly domain, and the will of the ancient celestial emperors would disappear at any time. When that time comes, the calamity would come again. Su Yan's heart was heavy. He wanted to ask his big brother how long it would be before the calamity came. It had been 20 years since the last black calamity. "Don't go. Big brother's condition is not right." Bao Kai mumbled. "He is in a half-asleep state. The fairy told us not to disturb big brother. He is trying his best to suppress the problem in his body and hold on until the calamity comes." Su Yin was silent. With the current state of the universe, how could they resist the calamity? When the day comes, will the army of the celestial court return? Will we have reinforcements? Su Yin thought to himself. He felt that the danger was getting bigger and bigger, and it was imminent. Boom! At this moment, a giant cauldron not far away from them was emitting an endless amount of life energy that resonated with the universe. The cauldron seemed to be nurturing something. The strong life form was majestic and boundless. It was surrounded by 9-colored immortal radiance, breathing in the energy of heaven and earth. There was even origin energy leaking out. Su Yan's gaze landed on the cauldron. Was this the level 9 life essence evolution fluid? It had been prepared more than 10 years ago. It took 10 years to search for other materials and a few more years to forge it. When it matured in the early years, the phenomenon was many times more majestic than now. All kinds of auspicious signs bloomed. Now that the level 9 life essence evolution fluid was fully matured, its divine power was restrained. Inside the giant cauldron, it was as if the sea of fate was floating. Su Yin could feel that there was a vast amount of life energy inside the cauldron. It was as if the universe was blooming, giving birth to all things. There were stars in the cauldron, engraved with the supreme Tao of life. Daozu is on the old village chief's list. Su Yin laughed. The one refining the cauldron was the old village chief. His aura was sharp and domineering, like a heavenly blade floating up and down. His palms kept scattering endless heavenly blade imprints that resonated and pressed into the cauldron. It wasn't easy to refine the life essence evolution fluid. Daozu had to be the one to pluck it. Boom! Suddenly, the inside of the cauldron trembled violently. The sound of rolling thunder was deafening. If one looked closely, they would see the old village chief's hand reaching in. It was as if he was grabbing a terrifying true dragon. His aura shook heaven and earth, flowing with terrifying vitality. It almost overturned the cauldron and destroyed this place. "Tut!" the old village chief shouted. He roared out a concentrated heavenly blade imprint and pressed it on the level 9 life essence evolution fluid, sealing it. If one looked closely, they would see the old village chief sweating profusely. Bao Cai's eyes were wide open. This was too difficult. Daozu was so tired that he was half dead, but the life essence evolution fluid was grabbed from the cauldron one after another. This was a feast for the eyes. Every drop was a priceless item. It was as if millions of years of exceptional evolution fluids were floating between heaven and earth, glowing on their own and gushing with auspicious clouds. So much so that every drop of evolution fluid seemed to have life breathing in the sea of stars. There was the rumbling of a heartbeat. It was too extraordinary and peerless. Su Yin was speechless. This thing was truly frightening. His qi and blood were surging on their own. He really wanted to absorb and refine it. After all, this wasn't just one evolution fluid. There were more than 20 ingredients in this cauldron. If Dao Shuyi hadn't dug out 8 ingredients from the Xian people's ancestral court, it would be impossible to gather all of them in 10 years. Now, the old village chief had grabbed 6 drops of evolution fluid. In truth, this had already exceeded his expectations. 6 drops of level 9 evolution fluid was a priceless treasure. Every drop was exceptionally valuable. The rest were level 8 evolution fluids. There were also top quality ones that weren't inferior to level 9 ones. Of course, there were a lot of level 7 and level 6 ones. There were also other low-grade evolution fluids. Altogether, there were more than 1,000 drops of evolution fluid. That was a terrifying number. It was a huge number for the tribes. This time, the refinement process took 3 days and 3 nights. You should use it quickly to avoid wasting the medicinal effect. The old village chief smiled with gratification. The reason he had waited for Su Yin for so many years was because he was worried that the medicinal effect would weaken. Su Yin, Bao Kai, Fairy Zixia, and Long Daesong had each gotten one. Originally, the old village chief had planned to let the little azure dragon and the others decide on the other 2 drops. East Demon shook his head and said, "I don't know if they have enough evolution fluid. Let's not be anxious and wait for them to finish digesting it. Su Yan's potential is so strong. 1 drop is probably not enough." The little azure dragon nodded. The great calamity was coming. Su Yan would be of great help to the future of the universe if he broke through as soon as possible. The old village chief smiled and didn't say anything else. This was level 9 life essence evolution fluid. It would take at least a few years to completely digest the medicinal effect. It might even take longer to enter enlightenment. In order to prevent the medicinal effect from dissipating, he chose to seal the 2 drops of evolution fluid. Of course, even if he sealed them, some medicinal effect would still be lost. After all, level 9 life essence evolution fluid was too special. It was extremely difficult for Dao Zhu to seal it completely. Chapter 1762. The back progenitor was still as beautiful and magnificent as ever. The immortal substance was rich and rolling, and auspicious clouds bloomed. It was sacred and peaceful. Above the back progenitor was the largest academy in the Xianhuang universe, the Xianhuang Academy, which included all the elites in the universe. After years of improvement by the Flame Emperor and the others, it already had a series of rules and order. The 100,000 students in the academy were all selected through layers of selection in the universe. Now, the 100,000 students of the entire Xianhuang Academy were gathered together, looking at the grotto heaven created by the Dao Zhu. The moment it bloomed, it was obviously different. As the universe breathed, the entire solar system glowed, swallowing the world's energy source. Above the strongest pure land, an ancient tree took root, chanting the strongest great Dao divine sound. This was the Dao Zhu tree, a mature ultimate treasure medicine. It scattered the vast light of great Dao order, as if a group of innate saints were sitting in it and preaching Dao. The imprint on the Dao Zhu tree had been cut off by the Dao Shui. A mature Dao Zhu tree was sitting here. Even without 9 mature leaves, the terrifying effect of the Dao Zhu tree alone was enough to open up the ultimate great Dao world. Su Yin and the other 2 sat cross-legged under the Dao Zhu tree. There was also a short ancient tree behind them. This was the Earth Immortal Tree, which sees the fortune of heaven and earth and contained the energy essence of the world. If one cultivated near the Earth Immortal Tree, they would not have to worry about insufficient energy and could absorb as much energy as they could. Roar! Bao Kai roared, and thousands of strange phenomena appeared all over his body. Behind him, there were thousands of beasts, accompanied by a true dragon, divine phoenix, black tortoise, vermilion bird, and a series of other sacred beasts. The appearance of thousands of beasts was hidden in the powerful heaven and earth Dao seed. This was an extremely precious heaven and earth Dao seed, which was obtained by the Dao Shui from the Xian people's ancestral court. It could be called the myriad beasts Dao seed. Once the myriad beast Tao seed was activated, it resonated with Baotsai's aura and instantly changed. It was very terrifying and domineering, gushing with the power of thousands of beasts. Fairy Zhixia's aura was also outrageous. Billions of chaotic sword chi gushed out of her body, forming a chaotic sword sea. There were swords floating in it, and it could easily erupt with unparalleled combat power. Long Daesong's blood energy was also extremely dense. It was too exuberant and transcendent. 9 true dragons vaguely appeared behind him, all of them exuding a terrifying prehistoric aura. This caused the little azure dragon to feel somewhat apprehensive. What kind of species is this Daesong? The azure dragon, Tao, ancestor frowned. Even as powerful as he was, he could feel the pressure from his bloodline. He could also sense an aura that transcended ancient times. It came crashing down with a rumble. Only the dragon race could sense just how great the pressure from the essence of life was. Long Daesong had fused with a true dragon Tao seed. This was prepared by the azure dragon for his son, the little azure dragon. However, the little azure dragon knew how terrifying Daesong was, so it gave the true dragon Tao seed to Long Daesong. This was also the most powerful Tao seed in the world. One must know that Su Yin and the other 3 were once the 4 great golden immortals. There was no need to talk about their potential. The most abnormal was still Su Yin. Baotsai's aura paled in comparison to his. Compared to Su Yin, he was infinitely close to Daozu. Long Daesong and the others had just touched the supreme domain. Let's begin. Su Yin no longer hesitated and swallowed the level 9 life essence evolution fluid. Even the old man Tianyang was envious. What kind of fortune was this? How many people in the past had the good fortune to absorb the Tier 9 life essence evolution fluid? Even those as strong as the immortal race would not be able to refine the Tier 9 life essence evolution fluid more than 3 times. It wouldn't appear even once in an epic. Now, the 4 great kings of the Celestial Court were bathing in the level 9 life essence evolution fluid. In an instant, Su Yin really felt that he had changed. He seemed to have become countless times bigger. The radiance gushing out of his pores surged throughout the entire solar system and spread towards the distant star fields. Su Yin, speechless, this medicinal effect was too frightening. He was completely different. His flesh shell had turned into a terrifying sacred furnace, filled with boundless vitality. Su Yin was already powerful enough to shock the world. Now, under the nourishment of the level 9 life essence evolution fluid, he was blazing with a monstrous vitality. It was as if he had returned to the womb of heaven and earth. Suddenly, Su Yin seemed to have transformed into a heavenly embryo, seizing the fortunes of heaven and earth. Mysteriously, Su Yin sensed his own flaws. He was like a damaged heavenly embryo, recovering under the nourishment of the evolution fluid. What kind of embodiment was this? This meant that although Su Yin had survived the calamity 1,000,000 years ago, his heavenly embryo had been destroyed. Su Yin also had innate deficiencies and flaws. Now, under the nourishment of the level 9 evolution fluid, he felt that he had recovered. Moreover, all kinds of divine treasury doors had opened in his flesh and were emitting even more powerful potential. One had to say that the level 9 evolution fluid was too heaven-defying. It contained all kinds of inconceivable effects. After all, it was refined from rare immortal treasures of heaven and earth. The essence condensed from it was equivalent to a heavenly medicine running through Su Yan's flesh shell. Although the level 9 evolution fluid couldn't be compared to ultimate treasures, some of its effects weren't even possessed by ultimate treasures. It could strengthen a person's life essence, using the heavenly essences to nourish deficiencies and flaws. This thing could be used to retrace one's ancestral roots and evolve into the strongest physique domain. Needless to say, Su Yan's physique had also strengthened. Moreover, the supreme diagram between his brows had become even more profound and complex. Although it was still blurry and hadn't been completely nurtured, it had imperceptibly strengthened the foundation of his second innate ability. One could well imagine how great Su Yan's gains were. Time passed, day after day. Every day, Su Yan's entire body would feel unbearably itchy. However, after enduring it time and time again, subtle changes had occurred in his flesh and blood as he continuously opened up his potential space. In the end, 3 months later, Su Yan's flesh body had become extremely frightening. It was as if he had transformed into a connate saint. His magic power was as vast as the sea. His chi and blood were vast, and his potential was matchless. How is this possible? The Heavenly Sun Elder was dumbfounded. He knew how terrifying the level 9 evolution fluid was, but it definitely wouldn't provide such great help to Su Yan in a short period of 3 months. Why did Su Yan have such a manifestation? The changes were too great. He had grown a great deal stronger, and the level 9 evolution fluid was almost completely absorbed by Su Yan. Actually, there was a huge drawback in doing so. Su Yan hadn't even had the time to explore the mysteries of the life evolution fluid before he had already swallowed it. This is truly a miracle. Su Yan has become even stronger. He's truly a freak. The old village chief didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He took out another drop of evolution fluid and injected it into Su Yan's body. Boom! The heaven and earth trembled as his unparalleled potential was released. Su Yan was truly like a transcendent saint. His body also seemed to have been reconstructed. His body emitted boundless holy light and was accompanied by countless fragments of the great Tao. What was this? This was the heaven-defying effect of the level 9 evolution fluid. A series of immortal treasures existed in the world and the mysteries of the great Tao. Countless fragments fused together and formed a universe that drowned Su Yan. At this moment, Su Yan seemed to be sitting cross-legged above the heavens. His body was blazing and ancient, as if he had turned into an ancient saint. The moment his chest rose and fell, the solar system rumbled and the universe resonated. What a terrifying aura! Some experts in the universe noticed the fluctuations emitted from the solar system. A vague saint was glowing and illuminating the universe's starry skies. Behind him was a giant Dharma idol that stood indomitable between heaven and earth. What kind of potential was this? Some people even felt that Su Yan was Daozu. His embodiment was too exceptional. His aura swallowed the sea of stars and was boundlessly terrifying. There is a kind of suppression. The old village chief keenly sensed that the suppression of the environment had arrived in the boundless world and covered Su Yan. This made him somewhat astonished. Shouldn't the suppression of heaven and earth be aimed at Daozu? Su Yan's situation wasn't a breakthrough. He was gradually immersing himself in the endless mysteries of the level 9 evolution fluid. It was equivalent to exploring the mysteries of the universe. There were many benefits, but the time taken was relatively long. It could easily take several years or even 10 years. The suppression triggered by reaching the end of the path of immortality. Even the Flame Emperor was shocked. This indicated that Su Yan was too powerful and exceptional. His path was very far. Once he attained Daozu, he would be extraordinary. Similarly, the interrogation of the environment of heaven and earth would be extremely abnormal. Gradually, Su Yan's aura began to calm down. Without a doubt, the forging of the body of flesh had ended. Next, it was time to comprehend the mysteries of the universe. Within his flesh shell, there were countless fragments of the great Tao. When they fused together, it was really the opening of the universe. It emitted the light of the beginning of all things and the creation of heaven and earth. Su Yan explored and observed the changes of the universe. This also corresponded to the meridians of the human body. The body was like the universe. The body of flesh seemed to be repeating itself. Level after level of the level 9 evolution fluid corresponded to the various cultivation realms. It was equivalent to recultivation. Su Yan observed the evolution of the universe. It seemed as if millions of years had passed. He saw the birth of order and laws in the universe. It was flourishing and prosperous. In fact, several years had passed at this point in time. Suyin seemed to be in silence. In fact, a great change had taken place in his body. The source of life in his flesh gushed out with divine splendor. His source of life possessed a shocking nature. It was as majestic as the vast ocean of the universe. Within it were the 9 heavens and the stars of the universe. He observed the Tao of the universe and verified himself. Large doors opened in his body. This was the door of the great Tao and also the door of profundities. It gave birth to divine arts and was filled with the aura of the great Tao. Origin, life springs, Tao gates, and divine arts could be said to be the beginning of cultivation. The path of venerable foundation had a great impact on the future path of cultivation. When a Dharma idol appeared behind him, it would connect the heaven and earth and fill the sea of stars. It was as if the universe was expanding, opening up, and strengthening. In the end, it gave birth to the Tao and gave birth to the principles of heaven and earth, enlightening all living things. Origin, life springs, Tao gates, divine arts, Dharma idol, and great Tao. Suyin was repeating the 6 great secret realms here. However, with Suyan's spirit, it was as if an ancient saint was preaching the Tao and reciting the mysteries of heaven and earth. It was grand and overflowing. With each passing year, Suyan's aura became a bit more grand. His might suppressed the rivers and mountains of the universe and was filled with a terrifying might. He was also about to break through. The evolution and perfection of each secret realm gave Suyin the confidence to break through the Daozu. From the time he entered seclusion until now, more than 10 years had passed just like that. Suyan's transformation was even greater. The aura of the ancestor of the great Tao faintly bloomed. It was flourishing to the extreme. His body seemed to be burning as if it was going to ignite a sacred flame. The old village chief and the others looked at each other and smiled happily. The 9th grade life essence evolution fluid was worthy of being called a rare medicine. It contained the principles of heaven and earth. Now that Suyin and the others were nourished by the best resources, they believed that Daozu would reach it soon. At the same time, more than 30 years had passed since the end of the great chaos in the undying heavenly domain. Many things could change in 30 years. However, today was obviously different. A group of experts who were constantly paying attention to the heavenly sun region trembled. They were really cold from head to toe. The universe's black hole that had been silent for more than 30 years suddenly shook. The order and rules that filled the sky exploded. "It's here!" the creature Daozu roared. It shook heaven and earth and spread across the 3,000 core regions. Chapter 1763. One figure after another sat cross-legged under the Daozu tree. Some were ancient, some terrifying, some mysterious, and some bitingly cold. One figure after another was entrenched under the Daozu tree, like a dozen or so young war gods. The ultimate Daozu tree was constantly emitting the light of the supreme great Tao order. It provided guidance to all life and opened the door to the sacred realm. The leaves were about to fall down and emitted the sound of the supreme great Tao. There was also a group of young experts sitting cross-legged at the edge of the Daozu tree. It wasn't that they didn't have the qualifications to get close to the Daozu tree, but the main reason was that the pressure from the heaven and earth was too intense. Moreover, it was getting more and more frightening with each passing year. This came from the suppression of the environment on Suyin. Its influence was far-reaching, especially under such pressure. Ordinary experts would find it difficult to get close, but the East Demon and the others were cultivating in seclusion. They were constantly under the pressure of the heaven and earth, which was greatly beneficial to their cultivation. Over 10 years had passed. Under the nurturing of various evolutionary fluids and top-notch resources, each and every one of them had improved greatly. Their strength had undergone an earth-shaking transformation. Even the top-notch 8th grade life essence evolution fluid contained terrifying effects. Boom! Suyin, who had been silent for 12 whole years, had awakened on this day. His body was connected to the heaven and earth, and his flesh shell was like a sea of life. He stood indomitable between heaven and earth, and the sound of the great Tao surged out from his body like an ocean. The aura was majestic and tyrannical, capable of tearing apart the suppression of the heaven and earth. Many people were startled awake and felt their hair stand on end. This was an extremely terrifying suppression. It was as if millions of mountains were lying horizontally here. It was shocking. Su Yin had changed. He had transformed into the universe and was shaped like an ancient saint. His meridians were enlarged and boundlessly vast. The universe within his body was opening up and encompassing the heaven and earth. The stars aligned, and the sun and moon rotated, embracing yin and yang. This was an extremely grand manifestation of the great Tao. The two extremes of yin and yang, the four divisions, and the 8 trigrams pointed directly at the profundities of the universe's origin. At this time, Su Yin was too majestic. He sat cross-legged between heaven and earth, and the heaven and earth were resonating with him. Even the environment that was suppressing Su Yin was shaking, as if it was going to explode and be torn apart. The unique and righteous. Many people sucked in a breath of cold air. Su Yan's transformation was too astonishing. He had been silent for 12 years, and now that he had awakened, his aura swallowed the universe, rivers, and mountains. Heaven and earth were overturned because of him. He was about to be controlled by him. The embodiment of strength to the extreme had to be on par with the great Tao of heaven and earth. Strictly speaking, this possessed the boldness of the grand heavenly Daozu. This meant that Su Yan's mastery of Tao and Dharma was truly at the pinnacle. The rank, 9 life essence evolution fluid had given Su Yin a chance to recultivate. He could observe the changes in the universe, verify himself, and sort out his own great Tao. Now, he was about to reach perfection. Su Yan's body seemed to have transformed into a door to a treasure trove that blended with the universe, causing Su Yan's aura to expand infinitely and become blazing and overflowing. What kind of manifestation was this? A drop of blood could transform into a river and an ocean. A piece of bone could transform into a great star in the universe. When his eyes opened, the world would flicker between brightness and darkness. The power of the great Tao formed a torrent that flowed endlessly and multiplied without end. It was as if he was splitting open the sky. His corporeal body was filled with boundless might of the universe and contained the power of 3 great heavenly arts. Even the environment found it difficult to suppress Su Yin. He propped up the universe and stood within it like an unrivaled supreme being of the present age. He was too powerful and flourishing, exceeding everyone's understanding. It was unknown what level his battle prowess had transformed to. They all had the mentality of defying the heavens and attacking Daozu. The process was truly shocking. Su Yan's aura was extremely abnormal and ridiculous. What was the ultimate immortal Tao? It wasn't controlled by the world and wasn't suppressed by the environment. It was powerful beyond compare. However, the peak of prosperity was followed by decline. This was like the law of all living things. The powerful and unrivaled Su Yan's aura swallowed rivers and mountains and looked down on the world. However, he encountered a terrifying influence. The terrifying aura emitted from his entire body exploded, and his body seemed to have collapsed. He seemed to have been killed by the world and interrogated by the great Tao. What's going on? The Yin Emperor and the others turned pale. Su Yin encountered a formless killing tribulation and was about to die. A rain of blood filled the sky and covered the world. It was as if he had entered the cycle of reincarnation. His entire body was declining and was about to wither away. This was like a breakthrough Daozu. He couldn't withstand the interrogation of the world and was about to die. This wasn't rare. However, the problem was that Su Yin wasn't Daozu. He was merely a supreme being. Why did he have to endure such a perverse, killing tribulation? It seems to be caused by his own body. The old leader frowned. This was a disaster born from Su Yan's inner world. The inner universe was collapsing, and the great stars in the sky were exploding. Even Su Yan's blood and bones were about to evaporate. However, Su Yan didn't despair. He was very calm and allowed the world's Tao to press down on him. He wasn't afraid at all. Instead, his conviction became stronger and stronger. That's not right. Su Yan is receiving the power of heaven and earth to refine his body and complete the final transformation. He is also confirming the final path. The heavenly Sun elder stood up and said, "What great courage!" He has cultivated many scriptures. He is verifying and combining them to ensure that they can operate perfectly. He won't be disturbed or restrained in the future. The heavenly Sun elder was the founder of a supreme sect, after all. He was very knowledgeable and could see some problems. It should be known that Su Yan was about to break through to the Tao ancestor realm and would face some complicated problems. Becoming a sage was not something that could be done as one wished. The stronger one's accumulation, the more complicated one's cultivation would be, and the more problems one would face. Life and death, the cycle of yin and yang. It was like a destiny. Su Yan's broken body emitted a terrifying light. He was still strong and invincible. Although he was facing the threat of death, Su Yan clearly understood what he was facing at the moment of death. Roar! Su Yan let out a low roar. His chest burned fiercely and sputtered out the light of reincarnation that filled the sky. In an instant, Su Yan's flesh shell changed. It surged with the light of the great Tao of reincarnation. It rotated life and death, yin and yang, causing the world in his body to welcome a huge change. It was as if a huge explosion had occurred and gave birth to a layer of terrifying light of order. It was also like a long river of scriptures that sputtered down from the heavens. It rumbled and revealed a powerful aura that shook the ancient and dazzled the present. Even Daozu couldn't see through Su Yan. His entire body was densely covered with countless great Tao runes. He sealed the heaven and earth inside and out. However, anyone could sense that once he erupted with peerless power, he would truly have the power to look down on the immortal Tao. Su Yan was sure that he was stronger than before. The only great Tao was emitted, forming a monstrous domain that covered the sky and covered the sun. It was also like the majestic world was pressing down. It was incomparable and was enough to destroy everything. The three great scriptures merged into one. The moment they bloomed, Su Yan's aura was boundless. His primordial spirit, body, and Tao techniques merged into one. It was difficult for the world to suppress him. He could release it to his heart's content and attack the enemies of the heavens. The three scriptures merged into one. Su Yan had finally perfected the immortal Tao. He stood in the ultimate domain and looked down on the world. Let's call it the universe scripture. Su Yan whispered. The only scripture bloomed. The moment it operated in the ultimate domain, it broke free from the suppression of the world. Standing in an extremely special domain, he was like an extraordinary ancient saint. However, the moment Su Yan's aura surged to the ultimate state, he caught a layer of aura. It was ancient and mysterious, majestic and terrifying. It was majestic and vast to the extreme and covered the heavens. All of a sudden, Su Yan sensed an extremely terrifying and ancient aura. It was as if it had transcended countless eras and time and traced back to an ancient time and space. He sensed the most primitive and vague fluctuation that represented the beginning of life. Su Yan was shocked. What kind of Tao was this? It was more complicated and difficult to understand than the heavens. It was as if it accompanied the beginning of life. This wasn't just one aura. There was another fluctuation. The universe sank, civilization collapsed, and the world was ruined. Everything was about to return to the origin and start to be destroyed, no longer existing. It was a very vague and frightening embodiment that was faintly discernible within his body. Su Yan even vaguely saw some scenes. The supreme experts in the sky withered and fell, smashing into the huge burial ground. Su Yan wanted to see more clearly, but the aura returned to silence. It's them. Su Yan's expression changed. It was the black and white chi. As expected, Su Yin hadn't completely refined it. There was still unfathomable potential waiting to be unearthed. Perhaps there was still a terrifying secret. Su Yin suspected several times that the Black Calamity and some forces in the immortal world were after the Black and White Qi. Were they? What did they represent? What kind of power did they possess? What kind of secrets did they contain? Su Yin felt that he was about to see it. When he became a saint, he would be able to see more clearly. Perhaps he could get all the secrets he wanted to know. If it wasn't the Black and White Qi, Su Yin couldn't figure it out. What made the Black Calamity and some forces in the immortal world so obsessed with the Heaven Burial Cave? Other than these two mysterious Qi, he didn't know what else was special about him. Soon, Su Yin closed his eyes slightly. He didn't come out of seclusion. He calmed down and pondered about Daozu's path. He already knew how to break through Daozu's path. Of course, it wasn't in the black-yellow universe. He had to go to the void and open the path to break through. He had to endure the most terrifying torture environment. When to break through, Su Yin could do it at any time. Finally, the day had come. He had been cultivating in seclusion all these years. 30 years in the Heaven Burial Cave, 20 years in the void, and 10 years of silence here. He had accumulated enough. But Su Yin thought that when Bao Kai and the others came out of seclusion, he would let them get close to the place of heaven and earth's torture and touch the prehistoric environment on a deeper level. This way, Fairy Zixia and the others would gain a lot. Boom! After 9 days and 9 nights, Su Yin was awakened. The black-yellow universe was also in an uproar. The outer verse was filled with the thick smell of blood, and they thought that a powerful enemy was invading. But things went beyond their expectations. Su Yin, Yin Emperor, and the others came to outer space together and saw many battleships stained with blood. Because they had been in the void for too long, the battleships were on the verge of collapsing. There were more than 10 battleships from different forces. They crossed the void. What were they doing here? Su Yin opened one of the battleships with a surprised expression. There was a severely injured Daozu inside. He was almost skin and bones, and his breathing was weak. He was nearing the end of his life. Yong Qiuling, what did you encounter? Su Yin was surprised to see a peerless beauty in the battleship. She was still in good condition and hadn't suffered any injuries, but her aura was exceptionally weak and her spirit was dispirited. Su Yin, I finally meet you. Yong Qiuling's eyes flickered with tears as if she had met a loved one. She grabbed Su Yin's arm with both hands as if she was hugging a life-saving straw. She hurriedly said, "The Black Calamity is here." Su Yin's pupils dilated. He suddenly knew that this day would come sooner or later, and he had made all the preparations. But now, he couldn't help but tremble. This day had come quietly. Chapter 1764. Su Yin's heart was in turmoil. He knew that this day would come sooner or later, and he had made all the necessary preparations. However, Su Yin had never expected that this day would come so quickly and so suddenly. It had only been 30 to 40 years since the last Black Calamity had invaded, and now the Black Calamity was back. This time it would definitely not give up so easily. Perhaps the most terrifying era had really arrived. It's here. Su Yin clenched his fists tightly, and his body tensed up. The cruelest era had arrived. His deep eyes were blazing, as though he could see through the void and the bloody scene of the undying heavenly domain. So fast, the old chief and the rest fell silent. They were a little stunned by the sudden news, although it happened in the undying heavenly domain. Once the undying heavenly domain was breached, the black-yellow universe would be next. It wouldn't take too long, maybe a few months, maybe a few years, or maybe a few days. This was a shocking change. Looking at the entire world, there was nothing more shocking than this. Once it arrived, it would herald death, darkness, blood, and cruelty. These huge warships were dyed in blood, and carried with them an intense, baleful aura. They came from different factions, and there were severely injured Daozu experts among them. Their faces were filled with bitterness. They thought that it would take hundreds or even thousands of years, but who would have thought that it would come in just a few decades? They are really here, and they are attacking the undying heavenly domain. A severely injured Daozu let out a low roar, and his eyes were bloodshot. His tribe was defeated, and the faction he established had collapsed. He was the only one who survived. It was too sad. However, the Daozu, were the supreme experts in the undying heavenly domain. But in the face of darkness, they were like ants, unable to resist at all. This was too sad. The old chief's face was solemn as he looked at the severely injured Daozu. Seeing the despair in their hearts, he felt a chill in his heart, and his mood turned sour. A group of Daozu were in despair. What had happened to the undying heavenly domain? The Black Calamity is here. What I don't understand is, what are you doing here? Yin Emperor's expression remained unchanged. He looked at these people with a mocking gaze and said coldly, "What are you doing in my black-yellow universe? We are all wanted criminals in the undying heavenly domain. What are you doing here?" Yong Qiuling lowered her head. To put it nicely, she was here to inform them. To put it bluntly, she was here to avoid disaster. This group of heavily injured Daozu sighed. 1,000,000 years ago, when the Celestial Court was invaded by the Black Calamity, the situation was most likely the same as the current undying Celestial Domain. The Celestial Court used to be the main force in the war against the darkness. However, the Xian people had betrayed them, and the other clans of Hell had joined forces to kick them while they were down. Back then, the Celestial Court had suffered injuries on top of injuries. The clan had almost been wiped out, and its name had almost been erased from the world of cultivation. After 1,000,000 years, the Celestial Court of today was a little stronger and had hope of prosperity. However, the Black Calamity had swept over again, threatening the entire undying celestial domain and all the orthodoxies. No one could stand up against the Black Calamity. Is the Celestial Court not planning to send out troops? One of the Daozu whispered. He seemed to be guilty. You want the Celestial Court to send out troops to fight against the Black Calamity? Azure Dragon's eyes were burning with anger. His face was gloomy as he said, "You top experts of the undying celestial domain have all fled to our place to avoid disaster. Now, you want us to send out troops? Why don't you touch your conscience when you say that? Are you asking us to die?" The heavily injured old ancestors trembled. Their hearts were filled with anger, but they could not refute. At the same time, they were shocked. Was this still the broken black-yellow universe? It had recovered some of the glory of the celestial domain. There was even dense, undying substance rising. 1,000,000 years had passed, and the black-yellow universe had survived. It was full of vitality again. In the future, it might even evolve into the prosperous celestial domain. The undying celestial domain is not defeated yet. A Daozu in a golden robe who was not heavily injured took a deep breath and said, "At this time, we should join hands to fight against the enemy. This matter is not only related to the existence of our world, it is also related to you." Join hands to fight against the enemy. Yin Emperor sneered. He looked at this Daozu and said, "I know you, Yellow Sky Valley Master. If I remember correctly, your tribe is very far away from the Heavenly Sun region. You rushed here to tell us that the Black Calamity is coming. What are your intentions? Even if it is true, one of them would be enough. Why did you send so many of them?" The heavily injured Daozu smiled bitterly. They were truly in despair. They did not think that the undying celestial domain still had hope. After all, the black-yellow universe was different. Since there was a way to seal the Black Calamity back then, the current black-yellow universe was the only safe universe environment. Without the lips, the teeth will be cold. You should know that. The Yellow Sky Valley Master was also a person. His face turned red as he retorted, "If the undying celestial domain is defeated, you should know better than anyone else who will be next. Now is the time to join hands to solve the problem. You should not run away." Su Yin was furious and shouted, "Who's running away from the problem? How dare you say that?" The Yellow Sky Valley Master's expression was extremely ugly. Su Yin was just a junior. Although he had caused a lot of trouble, what right did he have to talk to Daozu as an equal? 1,000,000 years ago, the Black Calamity invaded our black-yellow universe. Why didn't the undying celestial domain come to our aid? Su Yin shouted angrily. We even faced the betrayal of your despicable tribe. Before that, the Celestial Court's billions of troops were fighting the ultimate bloody battle in Emperor Road. Were you all at that time? The group of Daozu smiled bitterly and sighed. The Yellow Sky Valley Master was so angry that his lungs were trembling. He was pointed at by a junior, but he did not dare to refute. He complained, "We didn't know what happened back then. We only knew about it a few years ago." Su Yan's entire body was boiling with anger. A bone-chilling coldness leaked out. His words shook the heavens and the earth as he shouted, "Do you know now? Why don't you all stand up for the Celestial Court? Even if you want to criticize the Xian people. Our blood may not be cold, but our hearts are cold." Azure Dragon's eyes were filled with anger. Although he was determined to fight the Black Calamity to the death, he was not willing to help the Undying Celestial Court. Look at the mess that the Undying Celestial Court is in. A bunch of top experts just want to stay out of it. Now, you want the Celestial Court to fight the Black Calamity? How shameless. Brother Azure Dragon, your words are too harsh. Daozu of the Young family was severely injured. He said in a low voice, "My Young family is facing a great calamity. As the founder of the Young family, I won't run away even if I have to die in battle. However, this matter concerns all the forces of the tribes. We must think of a way to stop the Black Calamity." Do you think the Black Calamity is so easy to stop? Azure Dragon sneered. Forget about 1,000,000 years ago. Even in a long time ago, the Emperor Road has been blocking the Black Calamity and all the passages to the outside world. However, since the Black Calamity is coming again, the Celestial Court can't forge a second Emperor Road. The group of Daozu was shocked. They knew very little about the Emperor Road. They did not expect the Black Calamity to have been eyeing it since a long time ago. They were terrified. Was there really no hope at all? Plop. The Young family patriarch knelt and shouted, "Fairy of the Emperor Road, please take a look. Even if there is a glimmer of hope, it will be a great achievement to save billions of lives." Boom! Suddenly, Dao Shui appeared in the sky and approached. She asked curiously, "The Black Calamity is here. Is the Undying Celestial Domain not completely destroyed?" The Yellow Sky Valley Master and the others looked strange. What did she mean? Young Xiaoling quickly went up and begged, "Sister Fairy, the Black Calamity is different from the last time. It's relatively slow. When we left, it affected hundreds of continents. We don't know the situation now. It's not as fast as the first time. Maybe there is a solution. Let's go to the Undying Celestial Domain." Dao Shui's eyes scanned the Yellow Sky Valley Master and the others. She shouted, "Don't just stand here. Let's go together." The severely injured Daozu was very reluctant. He wanted to go to the Xianhuang universe to recover. However, he had no choice now. No one could run away. Before leaving, Dao Shui even asked the old village chief to stay and kill whoever came. This road would not be opened to any Daozu who escaped to the Undying Celestial Domain to avoid the calamity. "I want to go too," Su Yin hurriedly said. He wanted to see what the future enemy looked like. Bao Kai and the others also came out of seclusion. They also wanted to see. Although they encountered the devil fog in the Xianhuang universe, it was still in an incomplete form. "Su Yin, you should stay. Break through to the Daozu universe as soon as possible." The old village chief did not want Su Yin to follow. With his current cultivation speed, Daozu universe was close. It would only be a matter of days. The Yellow Sky Valley Master sneered in his heart. Did they really think that Su Yin could enter the Daozu universe before the calamity rushed to the Xianhuang universe? He admitted that Su Yin was strong. However, what level was the Daozu universe? Without tens of thousands of years of accumulation, how could it be so easy to break through? The Daozu universe was not a cabbage. "I want to go take a look." Su Yin said, "I want to see what the Black Calamity is. I want to see how much pain and cruelty it will leave behind." Some of the heavily injured Daozu universe sighed. It would really make them despair. It was worse than hell on earth. Nothing in the Undying Celestial Domain could stop it. "One go too." Bao Kai and the others strongly requested to see the future enemy. If the Black Calamity really came to the Xianhuang universe, they would not be prepared at all. Boom! The Dao Shui's feet lit up, giving birth to endless Dao runes. It was as if 3,000 gods and demons were formed, attacking the void. In an instant, a huge passage was formed in the void. It was built with billions of cosmic laws. There was a vast river of time and space fluctuation, almost penetrating the undying celestial domain. The young family ancestor was shocked. As expected of the previous ruler of the Emperor Road, his cultivation was unfathomable. He walked on the passage of laws step by step. His sleeves fluttered, and his figure became farther and farther away. It was as if he was walking in an unreachable place. "Let's go." Azure Dragon roared. No one hated the Black Calamity more than them. It had brought too much pain to the celestial court. Su Yin and the other young experts were agitated. They did not know why, but they were already prepared. Their blood boiled, and they followed the Dao Shui's footprints one after another, heading towards the undying celestial domain. The passage expanded. The Dao Shui walked at the forefront, and the vast void seemed to be flowing backward. Her speed was too fast, and the passage she opened almost reached the undying celestial domain. Su Yin and the others quickly approached, and they were rushing madly. The enemy was coming, and they wanted to see it for themselves. When they were about to reach the undying celestial domain, a chilly wind blew, and the cries of the living beings filled the void. The old leader shuddered. How the Black Calamity devoured the entire undying celestial domain? Chapter 1765. Just think about it, and one would know how cruel it was. The immortal celestial domain was vast, and although it couldn't be compared to the prehistoric era, if the entire immortal celestial domain was engulfed by the Black Calamity in a month's time, it would be enough to send everyone into despair. Who could stand against it? Who could stop it? Who could survive? Once the immortal celestial domain fell, the void would be polluted by the Black Calamity, and the broken worlds would be devastated once again. The danger would also gradually approach the Xianhuang cosmos. Su Yin didn't know if the Celestial Court still had any backup plans, but once the Black Calamity spread to the Xianhuang cosmos, the situation would be even crueler than 1,000,000 years ago. After all, 1,000,000 years ago, the Emperor Road still existed, but it was different now. The Emperor Road was gone, and the ultimate defense was gone. Once the environment of the immortal celestial domain was destroyed, the entire world would be turned into a wasteland. The cruelest era had arrived, and the immortal celestial domain was in chaos. Everyone was like grass, and there was no difference between the strong and the weak. They could only struggle in the darkness, hoping for a glimmer of light and hope, but there was no light at all. Boom! At this moment, the passage opened by the Tao scripture was completely stabilized, and it landed at the border of the immortal celestial domain, turning into a landing point. Su Yin had arrived here as well. His nose and mouth were filled with the pungent smell of blood, and it caused him to feel nauseous. It was truly horrifying. Just how many lives and how many cultivators had died here? Even the space-time of the Outer Realm had turned blood red. Everyone was crying, and the gods and demons were howling. The strongest person in the world, Daozu, had lost all hope and was only thinking of running for his life. The immortal celestial domain had entered a bloody apocalypse, and the lives in the universe had reached their limits. The Tao of heaven and earth was breaking apart, and everything was about to cease to exist. The entire world was filled with howls of despair. Black fog surged from the source of the sound, accompanied by a scarlet rain of blood that poured down towards the outer space. The vast outerverse was stained with a bloody light as resentment surged. Almost half of the 3,000 great provinces at the core had fallen. Bloody light overflowed and black mist roiled. It was as if an unrivaled demon was reviving. The terrifying gates of hell were completely opened. It was going to kill all life in the universe, massacre the world. How many lives have been lost? Is there nothing that can stop the darkness? Fairy Xixia was trembling. They stood in the outer worlds, and looked at the core of the immortal celestial domain. The 3,000 continents were about to fall. Endless black calamity, and the universe could not stop the pressure from the outer worlds. It was as if another plane of the universe was pressing down. The aura was terrifying to the extreme. It was so brutal that even Tao ancestors howled in fear. Just how terrifying were the creatures in the darkness? What kind of cultivation civilization did they belong to? Why was the immortal celestial domain? Boom! The immortal celestials and their blood and blood ants, their soul, and their souls were extinguished. Their souls as it be at their s. Was it the hell, was it by hell, s, by a hell, 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 hell. In fact, they even formed a sea of bones that floated about in the world of black fog. The endless corpses also formed a sea of white bones that rumbled and roared. Imp the celestial, Su Yin and the rest recovered from their momentary shock. They clenched their fists and tried their best to control their emotions. There are creatures in the darkness. Are they from the black calamity realm? In the blink of an eye, darkness energy pervaded the air, becoming stronger and stronger, shaking the 3,000 great provinces. The great stars in the sky all exploded, forming world, destroying energy ripples that shook the entire world. Like the source of destruction, the immortal celestial domain burst open. This was a terrifying change. Although the black calamity had been spreading for a month, none of the creatures in the black calamity had walked out. Now, a huge silhouette appeared in the darkness. Although the silhouette was blurry, it was like a demon god that ruled the world. It reached out a huge hand and shattered the Tao order in the sky. A huge blurry hand came from an unknown distance and rushed towards the immortal celestial domain. At this moment, the entire immortal celestial domain rumbled. The heaven and earth gave birth to even more terrifying laws of order, and like a flood, they surged up and blocked the creatures from the other world. Even though the immortal celestial domain's environment was strong, the huge blurry hand was too strong. It destroyed the laws of order, and at this moment, the entire immortal celestial domain seemed to be shaking violently. It's going to break open. Bao-Tsai's scalp tingled. The experts from the other world were invading the heavens. The universe trembled, and the living beings wailed. Even the gods and demons were crying. The entire universe dimmed. Just as the huge, blurry hand was about to press down, there was a terrifying force that stopped it. Vaguely, above the immortal celestial domain, there was a prehistoric aura that spanned billions of years. The era of Tibetan, it's the Emperor Road. Su Yan's eyes widened as he sensed the prehistoric aura. The Emperor Road had already merged with the immortal celestial domain, and thus, the immortal celestial domain had a deep layer of defense that blocked the attack of the huge blurry hand. The heaven and earth trembled. The huge silhouette of the dark creature shone brightly, and it let out a roar of anger. He attacked with all his might, and attacked the defensive power of the immortal celestial domain. It was like the end of the world, and the universe was about to explode. Endless killing intent poured down from the sky, and a corner of the dimension was torn apart. Dao Shi's expression changed slightly. The situation was too bad, and the immortal celestial domain could not hold on any longer. The huge blurry hand also became clearer. It was a huge white bone hand, and when it slightly manifested, it surged with unparalleled waves of energy. Roar! A Daozu creature roared and struggled madly, trying to break out. But it was useless. Although the huge white bone hand did not break through completely, even though it was separated by a long river of time and space, it still spread a strong force that suppressed this Daozu creature. It let out a cry of despair, and its body withered in a short period of time and condensed into its life essence, which was taken away by the huge white bone hand. Boom! The heaven and earth trembled, and the sun and moon sank. A terrifying scene appeared between heaven and earth. The indistinct, large white bone hand carried the power of annihilation. Along the way, giants were turned into dried bones one after another, falling down and smashing into the ruined earth, no longer showing signs of life. The scene was horrifying. The huge white bone hand grabbed the strongest living beings, and along the way, it also caused a great disaster. Countless living beings exploded and turned into a rain of blood. "There's no hope," some living beings roared and chose to commit suicide. They were unwilling to endure such torture. The Daozu creatures were like ants being captured, and the horrifying creatures in the sky were like scarecrows. They did not want to live anymore, and rather than waiting for death, they might as well commit suicide. The undying heavenly domain trembled, and the world was filled with fear. All living beings were in despair, and the Daozu creatures in the sky kept withering. The terrifying disaster was about to sweep across the entire universe. Who could survive? Even the powerful Daozu creatures who fled to the outer realm were suppressed by the huge white bone hand's blurry power. There is no doubt that their target was the powerful creatures. Those below the Daozu were mere ants, and they did not bother to hunt them down. "What are they doing?" Suyin clenched his fists, and cold sweat broke out on his back. Who could survive such a disaster? Azure Dragon and the others fell silent. This was the great disaster that befell the Xianhuang heavenly domain 1,000,000 years ago. How strong were the enemies in the dark? To us, the natural treasures in this world are the source of energy for us to strengthen ourselves. Dao Shi said calmly. To the invaders, the strongest living beings in the world are the ultimate great medicines. Young family's ancestor roared. Dao Shi's words were too much for him to bear. In the eyes of the dark creatures, they were a series of tonics that refined the essence of their bodies and turned into drops of essence blood that floated into the darkness and disappeared without a trace. The cruel truth was revealed. The Black Calamity would not attack without any reason. They would sacrifice an entire universe to capture the great medicines. Perhaps some living beings below the Daozu could survive, but they were too weak to be captured and killed. Perhaps after a long time, when these weak living beings grew up, they would be captured. In short, this was a bloodbath, a feast for the harvest. The old leader's heart turned cold. His life was in the hands of the dark creatures, and no matter how strong he was, there was no way he could resist. The chaos in the undying heavenly domain was more than just ferocious. Gloomy winds howled, and blood rained down. Corpses fell from the sky. Dong, dong, dong. In the outer world, all sorts of loud noises could be heard. This was the sound of the end of the world, and something that made people despair happened again. More and more figures stood out from the darkness, exuding waves of energy that caused the saints to tremble. This bunch of demons, oh heavens, open your eyes and take a look. Why are we enduring all of this? What have we done wrong? Everyone was in despair. They felt that this was the end of the world, and the universe was going to be wiped out. Now, the 3,000 continents were shrouded in darkness. Terrifying creatures were making their moves one after another, suppressing the heaven and earth as they charged towards the undying heavenly domain. It was as if millions of demons were roaring at the same time, and the undying heavenly domain was about to explode. Moreover, there were terrifying, huge hands reaching down, tearing apart the mountains and rivers, digging through the universe as if they were looking for something. Some of the continents were uprooted and fell into the darkness. However, it seemed like it was difficult for their true bodies to charge in. There were huge arms, terrifying claws, and powerful weapons in the undying heavenly domain. But just these things alone were not something that could be stopped in this battle. This was a bloody event, and the entire universe was soaked in blood. Gods were weeping and ghosts were weeping. There was no hope left. There was no hope left. Even the universe was torn apart, and there was no power that could stop this. All of a sudden, a terrifying storm swept across the universe. The immortal realm, which was the opposite of the earth, suddenly appeared. Auspicious lights shone brightly as it exploded in one of the dilapidated territories of the undying heavenly domain. Roar! The roar exploded, shaking the entire universe. Everyone in the world was shocked. A huge gate appeared, as if it was suppressing the entire undying heavenly domain. A huge bugle horn rushed out from it, and when it blew, the body of a dragon appeared. It traversed billions of miles, and the dark matter in the sky danced wildly. Immortal world. Dao Shuyi's eyes narrowed. This was the immortal gate of the immortal world. Was it trying to resist the darkness? Chapter 1766. The huge gate shone brilliantly. It stretched across the heavens, becoming increasingly clear and translucent. It wasn't a giant gate formed by the laws of order, but rather a giant stone gate, grand and ancient. It was falling, as though it had crossed the river of time. The stone gate was extremely grand, majestic, and intimidating, as though it covered the entire world. It was a terrifying scene. The huge stone gate was engraved with countless ancient symbols, accompanied by a supreme might. Boom! All of a sudden, a bugle horn appeared in the middle of the stone gate. To be exact, it was the horn of an ancient dragon. The instant it rang out, the heavens resonated with it as a boundless draconic might gushed out, sweeping across the entire, undying heaven domain. The Azure Dragon was shocked. What kind of dragon horn was this? And what level of living being was it that dropped off this horn? The moment the horn blew, a dragon drilled out, traversing millions of miles, as though an indestructible ancestral dragon had descended to the world, roaring loudly. The bloodstained, undying heavenly domain changed. The aura of resentment and fear dissipated completely, and a supreme dragon might bloomed, boosting the blood and chi in everyone's body, stimulating their will to fight. All the living beings in the universe roared, standing up from the desperate situation. They saw the light, the dawn in the darkness. Moreover, the enormous door that fell rumbled, becoming more and more terrifying, more and more majestic. The countless ancient symbols that covered it were all burning, causing the darkness that covered the sky to shatter. Without a doubt, all living beings saw hope. The dawn was enlarging, about to completely fill the starry sky and give all living beings a bright world. Is the heavens showing its power? All the living beings in the universe roared. They were so emotional that they were about to cry. Their blood was boiling, and their emotions were about to explode. The darkness in the universe was shaking, and the arms, claws, and weapons that could be seen in the darkness were trembling. Soon, they could not withstand the pressure and started to shatter. Roar! Heaven and earth changed greatly. Bloody lights surged, and endless killing intent. A low roar exploded. It was like 10,000 ghosts were howling. It was unknown how many living beings died. Their primordial spirits exploded and died completely, turning into a bloody light. The creatures in the darkness were furious. They opened their ice-cold pupils one after another, angrily berating the immortal realm's domain gate. They released ice-cold, dark Tao, sounds that rippled out endlessly, forming a sea of darkness that was about to crush down on the domain gate. The energy fluctuation was too vast. A group of terrifying creatures in the darkness went crazy. The great stars in the sky were all extinguished. The laws of this world were all trembling. A shocking great change was taking place here. The darkness was contending against the immortal world's domain gate. Halala! A storm of darkness surged and a tide of destruction spread out. It was as if a world-destroying flood had crossed the river of time, suppressing the dragon body that stretched millions and millions of miles. Darkness roared out, accompanied by the magical law of darkness. It was powerful enough to destroy heaven and earth, and it began to suppress the celestial world's gate. The dark creatures were furious. They didn't expect the immortal world to intervene. If the immortal world wanted to intervene, they would have done so long ago. Why would they wait until the moment when the immortal heavenly domain was about to be destroyed? The great cosmos of the heavens had long been an abandoned land. However, the immortal world faction still made their move. The immortal gate soared through the skies, shaking the entire undying heavenly domain, resisting the darkness. If the immortal world intervenes, does it represent the will of the entire immortal world? Suyin suddenly asked. This was a very important matter. If the immortal world was willing to pay a price to stop the darkness, it meant that the majority of the races in the immortal world hated the darkness. Although there were some rats, it didn't affect the determination of the immortal world to wage war against the darkness. It's hard to say. Dao Shui shook his head and said seriously, "This gate can't represent the will of all races in the immortal world. According to what I know, there's more than one gate in the immortal world. Of course, only the monarch race of the immortal world has the right to use the domain gate to suppress the darkness, and it's very likely that there's more than one monarch race." Suyan's face fell. He didn't know whether to be happy or not. If the people who came were also here to seize the thing they didn't get in the past, wouldn't it be an even greater disaster? Rumble. In any case, the war had progressed to a level that the world could only look up to. Su Yin even caught a glimpse of a terrifying life form emitting energy in the darkness, as if it was an existence that stood at the pinnacle of heaven and earth. This group of experts joined forces and attacked across the long river of time and space, across the complex environment of heaven and earth, and still formed a destructive attack. "Heavens!" everyone in the world exclaimed. They saw the darkness cover the immortal world's domain gate, and the great path of darkness spread out, forming thick chains of darkness. One after another, like a dark dragon, they drilled into the stone gate. From the looks of it, the darkness wanted to completely destroy the domain gate and prevent the immortal world experts from interfering in this world affairs. In fact, Dao Shui really hoped that the darkness would destroy the immortal world's domain gate. This would shake the entire immortal world, and the entire immortal world would send troops to suppress the black calamity in this world. After all, the immortal world was very close to the human world, and the black calamity was very far away. If the two sides really fought, the immortal world would definitely have the upper hand. After all, strictly speaking, this distance wasn't something experts could ignore, and there were many complicated factors involved. That's great. Quick, look. Everyone in the world cheered once more. The immortal world's domain gate suddenly became resplendent. The trillions upon trillions of supreme laws and order suddenly burst into flames. The gate completely changed. Above it, countless figures of powerhouses appeared, overlooking the heavens, looking down on the world with disdain. The immortal world's domain gate was revived, and an extremely majestic aura bloomed. At the same time, the terrifying figures reflected on the stone gate were revived as well. They resonated with boundless power and forcibly shook away the darkness, and also caused the black storm to explode. The living beings in the world cheered. The darkness was defeated one after another, and its attacks were destroyed by the huge immortal world's domain gate. Moreover, the immortal world's domain gate continued to shine. This door was too majestic and magnificent, and it supported the heaven and earth, radiating endless laws and orders. Layer after layer, it squeezed out the black calamity. Was it going to be completely sealed? Roar! In the darkness, all kinds of roars exploded. The group of creatures in the darkness were angered. They roared angrily in succession and continued to amplify in the world of darkness. They were blazing and resplendent. Unfortunately, their words were too ancient. The people of the world couldn't understand what they meant. In any case, the living beings of the darkness went berserk, and together with the land they conquered, all sorts of terrifying auras emerged, resisting the suppression of the immortal world's domain gate. It had to be said that when the energies of the two worlds clashed, the world suddenly felt that the undying heavenly domain no longer existed, and it was split into two and was about to explode and be destroyed. The living beings also started to tremble in fear. If the two factions fought here, the undying heavenly domain would really be destroyed. How big is the immortal world? Bao Kai sucked in a breath of cold air and was shocked from the bottom of his heart. The undying heavenly domain was destroyed just like that, which also meant that the immortal world size was immeasurable. Otherwise, the immortal world wouldn't have stood above the heavens and looked down on the world. The battle between the two factions might bring a chance of survival to our world. The ancestor of the young family shouted excitedly. Although I don't know what the immortal world is, once they fight, they won't back down easily. Immortal world. The Yellow Sky Valley Master was even more excited. Maybe we can enter the immortal world, and it might be a great opportunity in the midst of destruction. Let's go. Dao Shui suddenly left with Su Yin and the others. The young family ancestor and the others were stunned. Why did they leave so suddenly? Now that the darkness and the immortal world were clashing, the terrifying energies of the two worlds were mixing and clashing, and formed the Yin-Yang River. The calamity had temporarily ended, and no matter how strong the darkness was now, it would be difficult to destroy the domain gate of the immortal world. Even if it was destroyed, the obstacles it would attract would be even more severe and cruel. Although the darkness wasn't afraid of the immortal world, and had always had the upper hand in the previous wars, the living beings of the darkness had bigger plans, and they weren't willing to fight the immortal world. Gradually, the two sides reached a stalemate. What's so strange about it? The Yellow Sky Valley Master smiled sinisterly. You forgot about the Xian people. The Xian people and the immortal world must have a great connection, and the reinforcement from the immortal world must have been summoned by the immortal world. The young family ancestor's heart skipped a beat. Young Xiaoling frowned. If that was the case, it wouldn't be a good thing for the Black-Yellow universe if the immortal world came. The Black-Yellow universe is in trouble. The immortal world can protect the undying heavenly domain, but that doesn't mean it can protect the Black-Yellow universe. When the time comes, there will be a lot of deaths. The Yellow Sky Valley Master was very direct. Young Xiaoling was a little disgusted. The Yellow Sky Valley Master had been clamoring to go to the Black-Yellow universe to get reinforcements and even to avoid the disaster. But now the Black-Yellow universe was in danger, and he was smiling smugly. What a despicable person! Young Xiaoling cursed in her heart. Of course, she didn't think the Xian people could control the immortal world. Although her understanding of the immortal world was limited, she had heard some rumors about it over the years. So this is the immortal world. All the living beings in the world looked up at the huge gate hanging in the sky with endless respect. It was blazing, golden, and flowing with auspicious clouds. It was divine and holy, as if it was the final destination of the heavens and earth. It was accompanied by a supreme pressure that swept across the undying heavenly domain. Suddenly, the bloody aura of the undying heavenly domain dissipated completely and was covered by the holy aura. The dim starry sky, the dilapidated mountains and rivers, all of them became bright and glorious again, more prosperous than before. All the cultivators in the world were overwhelmed with emotions, and some of the more powerful cultivators knelt on the ground and bowed in worship. Thank the heavens for saving billions of living beings in the world. Countless people bowed in worship with excitement and reverence, forming a vast torrent that shook the heavens and the earth. The tribulation was blocked again, wasn't it? The legendary immortal world had appeared, and the most divine and holy gate had descended on the heavens. Vaguely, some vague figures appeared in the grand gate, but they seemed to be too far away from the undying heavenly domain, and only a rough outline could be seen. Even for the immortal world, it was difficult to enter the undying heavenly domain. Otherwise, the beings of the Black Calamity would have already killed their way in. Whether it was the immortal world or the Black Calamity, they were all rejected by the origin laws of the undying heavenly domain. The stronger the person, the stronger the rejection. So this is the legendary human world? In the Grand Passage, the living beings here could clearly see the true appearance of the undying heavenly domain. A group of young men and women were discussing, and each of them had a powerful aura. The blood of the monarch race flowed in their bodies, and although it was very thin, it possessed a terrifying heavenly aura. This was a group of heaven's favored children of the immortal world, and their backgrounds were shocking. It can't be right. A woman frowned and said, "The human world is too low-end. It's different from the legends. The strongest era of the human world was not inferior to the immortal world, but now the entire world is a wasteland filled with filthy air, and it makes me uncomfortable." These people closed their pores and were unwilling to breathe the air of the human world, lest their immortal bodies were polluted. Among their peers in the immortal world, they could be ranked among the top. At this moment, they were frowning and, at the same time, looking at the group of powerful nobles with puzzled eyes. A few of the nobles had solemn expressions as they chanted sutras, trying to communicate with the lower world. But they did not get any response. "Where's the world-crossing platform?" Their faces were grim. Without the world-crossing platform, they could not enter the undying heavenly domain safely. Although they could barge in, the price was too high. Chapter 1767. The immortal gate flew across the sky. Even though it was separated by a long time, the aura of the immortal gate still spread across the entire, undying heavenly domain. Even the people of the world saw the manifestation of a living being in the gate of immortality. Although it was very vague and mysterious, at this moment, they all felt that the living being inside belonged to the experts of the immortal world, an existence that surpassed the Tao ancestor. What kind of experts were they? The entire world was in an uproar. Countless living beings also started to worship them. They're worshiping us? And there are Sage Realm experts? How ignorant. This also proves a problem. Only the immortal world has been prosperous since ancient times. The once powerful mortal world has been reduced to a wasteland. Their history can't even be preserved. How sad. In the immortal gate, a group of young men laughed and looked down at the living beings of the lower world. Some of them frowned as if they were looking at a group of beggars. They felt that these living beings were a bunch of lowly people who were not worth saving. But the immortal gate had paid a heavy price to suppress them. "You can't say that," a young man with a strong aura, like a burning sun, said in a low voice. "Have you forgotten what happened in the battlefield of gods and devils? The prodigy from the wasteland of the lower world is very strong. Although he can't be ranked in the top of the immortal world, he can rise from the wasteland. He's no ordinary being. That's because he wanted to do something sneaky. If we knew about it, he wouldn't be able to get away with it." Some of them shook their heads. They didn't think that the wasteland could produce such a strong prodigy. This was no longer the mortal world. The immortal gate flew across the sky and remained calm. It's the reinforcements called by the Sien people. The undying heavenly domain was in a storm. This incident caused a huge uproar and spread across the universe that suffered heavy casualties. The people of the world could never have imagined that it was the immortal race's ancestor who summoned the immortal realm. Now, he stood towering under the immortal gate, possessing a tremendous divine might that swept through the four seas and shook the entire world. Didn't they say that the Sien people were related to the Black Calamity? Why are they the Sien people? Some of them were shocked. They couldn't forget what happened decades ago. Right now, experts from various great realms were all hurrying towards the immortal sects, as if they were on a pilgrimage. They were discussing among themselves, feeling more and more apprehensive. Do you really believe the words of the celestial court? They are just a bunch of fugitives from the immortal celestial domain. They hate the immortal celestial domain to the core and want our world to fall into chaos. The Yellow Sky Valley Master said coldly, "I don't believe that the top clans of my world are related to the Black Calamity. Otherwise, would my world still exist? It should have been destroyed long ago. Why would it wait until now?" Yellow Sky Valley Master, you can't speak carelessly. The Sword Sect progenitor frowned and shouted, "Everyone saw the Black Calamity descend a few decades ago. Although we don't know much about what happened a million years ago, it's not right for you to spread rumors and cause trouble like this." "Hee ha ha!" The Yellow Sky Valley Master laughed coldly. "That's right. We should thank the Celestial Court decades ago. But don't you think it's strange? The Emperor Road disappeared after only a few decades." "What do you mean?" An expert from a great sect asked. Too many experts had died in the immortal celestial domain, including a large number of Daozu. Those who were still alive felt like they were dreaming. If the immortal world did not descend, the immortal celestial domain would have been destroyed. To be honest, I went to the Xianwang universe. The Yellow Sky Valley Master sighed and said angrily, "The Celestial Court's response disappointed me. They said that what happened to the immortal celestial domain had nothing to do with them, and that it would be best if they all died. They clearly had the ability to stop the Black Calamity, but they did not help us. They just watched as the immortal celestial domain was in trouble and did nothing." How vicious. Did the Celestial Court really say that? The experts who heard this had a sour expression. Some of them did not believe it. Young Chioling's face turned ugly. This old thing was too much of a good-for-nothing, trying his best to slander them. He really wanted Heavenly Court to be unlucky. Just as she was about to say something, she was stopped by the Young family's ancestor. The Xian people were about to rise. They would most likely unify the immortal celestial domain. If they stood up for the Celestial Court now, it would be a disaster. Those who are not of our race must have different intentions. The Yellow Sky Valley Master laughed coldly. That little thing called Su Yin said that they could send their troops, but now he has sent the heads of the Xian people's ancestors. How despicable. How dare an ant say that? Does he really think that they're the masters of the immortal celestial domain? The whole world was shocked. After all, the Xian people were the ones who helped them at the critical moment. If the Xian people's ancestors fell, the immortal celestial domain would definitely be destroyed. They would all die. What are you laughing at? The Yellow Sky Valley Master's face turned cold. He glared at the Sword Sect ancestor and saw him laughing coldly. If the Celestial Court wanted to destroy us, they would have done it decades ago. They wouldn't have waited until now. The Sword Sect ancestor scolded angrily. The whole world is as cheap as grass. You went to the black-yellow universe to ask for reinforcements. Are you asking them to die? But they clearly have. The Yellow Sky Valley Master was furious. The Celestial Court should have sent their troops. If they did, the black-yellow universe wouldn't have suffered a disaster 1,000,000 years ago. The Sword Sect ancestor retorted. You said it yourself. Those who are not of our race must have different intentions. Even Daozu from our world escaped. Why would they send themselves to die? Who are you talking about? The Yellow Sky Valley Master was furious. The Sword Sect's progenitor snorted. I only know that I joined forces with some people. Even though they were a little useless, they still managed to move more than 1,000,000,000 living beings to another world, unlike some people who fled before the calamity even reached them. Be *starred. The Yellow Sky Valley Master was furious. His murderous aura surged as he closed in on the Sword Sect ancestor. The Sword Sect ancestor was disdainful. He carried the Sky Hegemon sword on his back. How could the Yellow Sky Valley Master do anything to him? Everyone, stop arguing. The heavily injured Daozu sighed. The celestial world gate appeared in the sky. We should go, and thank you for your kindness. The disaster is not over yet. What's the point of making a ruckus? You're right. The Yellow Sky Valley Master retracted his aura and sneered. Someone from the celestial world came. The Celestial Court should be investigated by the celestial world. This old tortoise. Young Chioling's face turned green. She was so angry that she ran to the black-yellow universe to hide from the disaster. Now that the celestial world's chaos was over, he turned against her. The Yong clan ancestor knew that the Yellow Sky Valley Master wanted to rely on the Xian people. At this moment, Su Yin and the others were about to return to the black-yellow universe. Along the way, Bao Kai whispered, "Sister Immortal, since the celestial world is here, why don't you stay and take a look? There might be other variables. If the immortal realm really wanted to help us, they wouldn't have waited until now. They would have taken action a long time ago. Too many people have died this month." Dao Shi sighed faintly. "I'm just afraid that the immortal realm is plotting something. Of course, this is the worst-case scenario. Maybe the celestial world wants to regain control of the celestial world." The old leader and the others shuddered. This was the best-case scenario, but it was also the worst-case scenario. If the celestial world gave them hope when the entire universe was about to be massacred, they would naturally view the celestial world as the highest gods. Regardless, it's a good thing that the celestial world is suppressing the darkness. If the situation in the celestial world stabilizes, it will give our world some time to breathe. Dao Shi said. Both she and her big brother needed time. She had already destroyed the realm-crossing platform. No matter how strong the celestial world was, the big shots could not cross the environment to suppress the lower realms. Now that the celestial world had merged with the Emperor Road and was suppressed by the prehistoric environment, it would not be easy to come down unless several Emperor families worked together and paid a huge price. I have to break through Daozu as soon as possible. Suyin clenched his fist. He was confident that he could break through quickly. However, Dao Shui stopped Suyin. This was not the time to break through. The celestial world had arrived. He had to wait for the situation to stabilize before breaking through. The more dangerous it was, the more cautious he had to be. In the past, the Celestial Emperor of the ancient Celestial Court and a series of top experts of the Celestial Court had caused havoc in the Celestial world. Although the Celestial Court was not worth mentioning now, it was fine if they did not pay attention to him. He had to get through this difficult period first. Suyin saw a hint of worry in Dao Shui's eyes. This made Suyan's heart heavy. Whether it was the prehistoric burial ground era or the Emperor Roads and a million years ago, there were still traces of the Celestial World's clans. The Celestial World's stopping of the Black Calamity had given the people hope. However, he could not help but worry that they had other motives. They're back. As they approached the black-yellow universe, the old village chief and the others relaxed. They were really worried that they would encounter danger. However, they did not expect them to return so soon. Azure Dragon and the others told them about the Celestial World's descent. This made the old village chief and the others shudder. The changes were really getting bigger and bigger. However, the Black Calamity was temporarily stopped. This was a great thing. After all, the Black Calamity was the biggest source of the massacre. As long as they could stop the spread of the Black Calamity, they could also fight for a period of safety. Suyin had a lot on his mind. He asked Fairy Zixiao about the mysterious skeleton. He was not an ordinary person. Being able to survive the prehistoric catastrophe was enough to prove that he was powerful and extraordinary. Through him, he could also understand the past of the burial ground era. If you want to see him, you could just go directly, Fairy Zixiao said in a low voice. The Black Calamity is already here. I don't believe that Master can still sit still. Suyin nodded. He strolled between heaven and earth, rivers and mountains, rushing to the world where the mysterious skeleton was at an extremely fast speed. The immortal heavenly domain had changed a lot in the past 100 years. Everywhere was full of vitality, energy and matter were exuberant, and the number of immortals in the world continued to increase. However, the black-yellow universe developed too late. In less than 10,000 years, it was very likely that a large number of celestial path experts would be born. Senior, I'm here. Suyin stood at the entrance of the world where the mysterious skeleton was at. He sent out waves of celestial path consciousness. He was looking forward to talking with the mysterious skeleton again. Boom! As soon as his words fell, the world rumbled. A path also opened, leading directly to the inside of the world. The mysterious skeleton was the same as before. The tattered skeleton scattered on the Dao platform, faintly emitting a terrifying aura of great destruction. The first time he saw the mysterious skeleton, Suyin felt that he was very powerful. Even if his injuries were so severe that it was difficult to recover, he was definitely not an ordinary person. Now that he saw the mysterious skeleton again, Suyin felt as if he was facing the abyss. It gave him a great impact. It was also as if he was looking at the prehistoric majestic heavens between heaven and earth. I should have died, but I didn't expect to live to this age and see a cultivator from the same era as me. The mysterious skeleton sighed, containing the terrifying light of great destruction. It was as if it could destroy the heavens and tear the universe apart. His words were like sharp swords, enough to cut through everything. Suyin was quite shocked. The skeleton had directly seen through his origins. Suyin respectfully bowed as a disciple and said, "Senior, please enlighten me. You are a descendant of the Bury of the Heavens?" The mysterious skeleton's words were calm and could always penetrate one's heart. One couldn't help but speak their own thoughts, and their thoughts were somewhat uncontrollable. Chapter 1768. While Su Yin was talking to the mysterious skeleton, the entire undying heavenly region was in an uproar. This was a shocking piece of news that reverberated throughout the universe. The celestial world has issued a decree to summon all the experts of the celestial court to accept their punishment. The commotion was too great, shocking all the creatures under the heavens. Many ancient clans were shocked. The supreme immortal world, the most powerful plane that saved all living things like fire and water, wanted the experts of the imperial court to come and accept their punishment. What crime did they commit? To provoke the celestial world to issue a decree they were going to go to war. Of course, there were also a series of news that spread like wildfire. The commotion was getting stronger and stronger. Our world used to belong to the celestial world. It was extremely powerful. All the cultivators in the world shouted in shock. Then they looked at the powerful celestial world gate with fanatical eyes. Didn't that mean that they were qualified to enter the celestial world? The passage to the celestial world from our world was sealed by the celestial court. Because of that, the environment of our world was extremely poor. Otherwise, our world wouldn't have suffered such a calamity. Our world would have been able to produce experts that could fight against the darkness. Someone said, the darkness calamity brought pain to the people of the world. But now, the celestial world told them that the celestial court was even more vicious than the darkness calamity. The celestial court has committed a great crime. They must be punished severely. Not only does the celestial world want to save the undying heavenly region, they also want to punish the celestial court. News flew everywhere, triggering an unprecedented level of influence. This series of events were truly terrifying. The minds of the 10,000 sex experts were greatly shaken, finding it difficult to calm down. A leader of a race said angrily, "No wonder the celestial court was so powerful in the past. Our undying heavenly region couldn't compete with them." So it was because the environment was sealed and the passage to the celestial world was cut off. The people of the celestial court are too despicable. They even pretended to be good people and framed the Xian people. How dare they? That's right. The celestial court didn't even send a single soldier when the calamity struck the celestial domain. They even made sarcastic remarks. That alone is enough for the celestial domain to condemn the celestial court. Celestial court, take root. Countless cultivators were enraged, but at the same time, they were devastated. The calamity of the immortal celestial domain had brought them too much pain. Now that the supreme celestial world had issued a decree to punish the celestial court, many of them believed it. So we belong to the immortal world. Do we still have hope of going up? Of course, most of them were excited, and their eyes were filled with longing as they looked toward the gate of immortality. To them, this was the God Legion paradise, and perhaps they had a chance to enter the immortal world. There's definitely hope. Someone from the Marvelous Heavens sect said, "I think I understand what the immortal world wants. Not only are they going to condemn the celestial court, but they're also going to condemn the ancient celestial emperors who founded the celestial court. They're going to condemn the celestial court for all eternity." The tempestuous tempest raged even more fiercely than before. Some of the old-timers who had lived for countless years felt like their hearts were about to explode. Condemning the ancient celestial emperors? Ha ha! The celestial court's destiny is coming to an end. The experts from the underworld kingdom were laughing heartily as they realized that the celestial court was finished. Never could they have guessed that the terrifying marquises of the gate of immortal worlds would be so disgusted with the celestial court that they would issue a decree calling for the celestial court to be punished. The heavens are going to change. The sword sect primogenitor and the others were terrified. This was a situation that had never happened before, and no one could say for sure what would happen next. But no matter what, the current heavenly court was too weak. How could it contend against the celestial realm? They were also worried about how the immortal world would view their world. The dark calamity was still on the other side of the undying celestial domain. Hundreds of continents have been turned into dead zones, and a small part of the undying celestial domain had fallen. The immortal world had not said anything about the dark calamity or the fallen realm. At this moment, the sword sect progenitor and the others felt like they were duckweeds that were about to be torn apart by the raging sea. What should they do in the future? Sword sect's founder contacted a group of old friends. His heart was bitter. They were frogs at the bottom of a well. They didn't understand the immortal realm, and they didn't know about the black calamity. However, they felt that even if a tile fell from the two camps, it would be enough to smash them to death. Xianwang Universe, where the mysterious skeleton rested. Suyin took a deep breath and asked, "Senior, what do you mean? I don't know much about the bury the heavens." "You don't know?" This time, it was the mysterious skeleton's turn to be surprised. From the skull's empty eye sockets, a faint light sputtered and fell on Su Yan's body, urging his constitution to recover. Buzz! In an instant, Su Yan's blood boiled, and his ancient constitution was recovering. The power of 10,000 physiques appeared and evolved into chaos, as if they had merged into one and turned into the power of bury the heavens, covering the universe. Su Yan's constitution was very powerful and special. It had an immeasurable source of power, and under the stimulation of the mysterious skeleton, his body was blazing, and the power of 10,000 physiques resonated. From afar, it looked like millions of mountains were in the sky. The mysterious skeleton looked at Su Yan. The power of 10,000 physiques resonated and covered the entire space, covering the sky and earth. It was majestic and intimidating. The moment Su Yan's constitution soared to the limit, Su Yan felt like he was in the chaos of the universe. 10,000 supreme laws were burning, which was shocking and unbelievable. There was an unparalleled sacred power in it. What a great creation! The mysterious skeleton was surprised when it saw the seed of heaven and earth that Su Yan had merged with. It carried 10,000 laws, as if it was carrying the prehistoric civilization. This was the creation from the chaos cosmic stone, carried by the seed of heaven and earth. Bam! At this moment, the mysterious skeleton stretched out its bone hand and slapped Su Yan. Su Yan's hair stood on end as he felt a great crisis. His whole body was also confined. Su Yan didn't think about defense or resistance. The mysterious skeleton wouldn't hurt him, and it should have seen the problem with his constitution. Boom! It was a very fatal blow. The moment the attack was launched, Su Yan felt that he was disintegrating and collapsing, and his body and soul were destroyed. The mysterious skeleton attacked and hit Su Yan's weak spot, severely injuring Su Yan. His body staggered, blood flowed from his mouth and nose, and he couldn't stand steadily. "It hurts!" Su Yan grimaced, and his body trembled continuously. It was as if a part of the indestructible divine iron had been destroyed. His bones were still connected to his flesh, which made Su Yan a little dizzy and almost fell to the ground. Again, the mysterious skeleton waved its palm again and blasted another weak spot on Su Yan's body. This attack was the same as the previous one. Su Yan's body trembled as if a corner of the universe had been torn, and it was going to affect Su Yan's entire body. The mysterious skeleton was a little surprised. It was really not easy for Su Yan to forge himself to this level. Although the power it exerted wasn't too strong, it wasn't something that could be easily withstood. Again, Su Yan was frightened. The mysterious skeleton's palm struck again and attacked Su Yan's next weak spot. Ah! The gray world echoed with the screams of a pig being slaughtered. Su Yan was beaten beyond recognition and screamed continuously. In front of the mysterious skeleton, he was like a child. The gap was too big, and he could only passively take the beating. Just like this, over and over again, tens of thousands of giant palm prints appeared in the void and constantly slapped on Su Yan's body. Boom! Tens of thousands of consecutive strikes were accompanied by deafening, thunderous booms. Su Yan really felt like he was going to explode. It was too horrible to look at. Phew! It was difficult to breathe. His body and mind were torn apart, and he wished he could die immediately. It was as if tens of thousands of holy weapons were smashing on his body. This kind of pain was indescribable. It made Su Yan feel so much pain that he wished he was dead. His body was already riddled with holes, and it was really going to fall apart. Every attack of the mysterious skeleton was able to hit Su Yan's weak spot. This was enough to shock Su Yan. He didn't expect that there were so many flaws in his body. Although the flaws were small, they were infinitely magnified in front of the mysterious skeleton. This was Su Yan's fatal flaw on the path of cultivation. It seemed that the broken Greater Heavens world was really not suitable for living things. Without an equal opponent, it was impossible to find one's own flaws and shortcomings. Is there any more? I can still hold on. I can still. Su Yan let out a low roar. His blood-stained hair danced in the air, and his broken body glowed. He felt that after experiencing all kinds of torture and suffering, his body seemed to have broken through one small shackle after another. His entire body emitted a blazing light. His tall body was covered in blood. It was as if tens of thousands of human treasures had been opened in his body. His shocking potential soared into the sky and turned into a giant holy dragon that looked down on the universe. The mysterious skeleton looked at the dragon of potential that soared into the sky. It could vaguely see Su Yan after becoming a saint. His magic power was monstrous, his vitality was grand, and he had the power to shake the world. He had great hopes of being crowned king in one battle. "Thank you, Senior," Su Yan shouted excitedly. Although his injuries were serious, he felt that his body was stronger than before. It was especially ethereal and divine. It was as if a layer of ominous matter had been blasted away, making Su Yan feel very comfortable. At the same time, Su Yan's body of flesh and blood shone. It swallowed and spat out energy and substances, quickly recovering. He felt that his entire person was different. Although he had suffered a beating, he had in fact been tempered thousands of times, forging himself to be even stronger. He wished he could do it again. In fact, ordinary cultivators couldn't see the weaknesses in Su Yan's body. Only a powerhouse like the mysterious skeleton could use some understanding of Su Yan's physique to forge Su Yan in a different way. It was just a casual thing. The mysterious skeleton sighed. "I've seen the ancient physique again. It's really powerful beyond compare." "Senior, do you know what my physique is called?" Su Yan asked. "The name is just a secondary thing." The mysterious skeleton faintly said, "Your type of physique was once called the mother physique of heaven and earth. Some called it the celestial body, and some called it the buried celestial body. The times are changing, and so are the physiques. As for what the ultimate name of this physique is, I really don't know. In short, stick to your own path and unearth the greatest treasure of your physique. Don't worry about anything else." Su Yan's heart was heavy. He didn't expect that his physique had so many names. He was looking forward to the Sage Realm more and more. He felt that once he entered the Sage Realm, it would be the most terrifying era of his physique. "Is it because of my physique that you think I'm a descendant of the the heavens?" Su Yan asked. "He and you have the same type of physique," the mysterious skeleton said in a low voice. "I feel the aura of the sky cave on your body, so I have this suspicion. Senior, is your understanding of the heavens limited?" Su Yan was a little surprised. To be exact, there are always some powerhouses in this world whose origins and identities are difficult to trace. Some ancient existences are accompanied by the origin of life. Their origins are unimaginable. Maybe he's not strong enough, but his origins are extraordinary. The mysterious skeleton sighed. He had met such creatures before. Then he said, "Of course, the heavens has another identity. He's a powerhouse with the Emperor's mandate in the immortal world, and the only one in the age of the burial ground. It's New Year's Eve. Brothers, you must be happy and unrestrained. I'm going back to my hometown for dinner. I'll come back tomorrow to give you New Year's greetings." Chapter 1769. Emperor's Mandate. This was not the first time Su Yan had heard of this term. Back then, the Emperor of Samsara was an expert with an Emperor's Mandate. This identity was amazing, and even more so in the immortal world. Emperors are emperors. Emperor's Mandate is Emperor's Mandate. They can't be lumped together. The mysterious skeleton said, "If you are strong enough, you can get the recognition of the immortal world's original will. Being crowned king is also a kind of recognition, but it's too difficult to get an emperor's mandate. There might not even be one in a million years. Those emperors must be strong enough. Su Yin sighed. This kind of person was too far away from him. Strength is only one of the factors. There are other complicated factors. The mysterious skeleton said calmly, if you go to the immortal world one day, you can also get an emperor's mandate. Of course, this is very unlikely, and the resistance is great. It's almost impossible. Barry the Heavens was an expert with an emperor's mandate. Did such a strong existence really die? The chances of people from the lower world going to the immortal world to be crowned emperor were even slimmer. Otherwise, Barry the Heavens wouldn't be the only expert with an emperor's mandate in the burial ground era. The catastrophe back then happened too suddenly and violently. No one had any scruples about other things. I survived because of a special reason. The mysterious skeleton sighed faintly. He didn't expect that after waking up from a dream, so many years had passed. The world had changed, the heavens were ruined, an immortal world had withered. He was already in his last years, and no longer had his former glory. But in the end, he was still alive. But were his old friends still alive? Were they like him, hiding in some place to struggle at death's door? The immortal world, the dark world, and the mortal world. In the ancient era, the three sides were called the three worlds. Although the mortal world was restrained by the immortal world, the immortal world couldn't completely control it. In general, the mortal world was very strong. Even if it broke off from the immortal world and established its own path, it was still strong enough. Senior, what is the reason? There must be a reason, Su Yin said in a low voice. The black calamity swept over again. Will it end so easily? What is it in our world that attracted them? Why do they attack again and again? Whether it was the immortal world or the dark world, there was a special reason that led to the destruction of the burial grounds. But what was this special reason? If it were not for this special reason, the burial ground would not have been defeated. After all, the burial ground had encountered many complicated problems. Not only did they have to face the black calamity, but they also had to deal with some tribes in the celestial world. The mysterious skeleton fell silent. Su Yin furrowed his brows and began to plead bitterly. He really wanted to know. This was a matter of great importance, especially to himself. After all, the mysterious skeleton was an extremely terrifying giant from the burial ground era. If he didn't know about it, it would be a bit ridiculous. Even his own land of the universe had perished without knowing what kind of calamity had befallen it. Was this even possible? In the end, the mysterious skeleton sighed and said, I can't answer your question. My memory is missing. Su Yan's eyes widened. What kind of existence was the mysterious skeleton? He believed that the mysterious skeleton was no less powerful than the reincarnation emperor, since he was able to slash out the epic and create the epic river. Although he wasn't an emperor's fate expert, some experts couldn't be measured by fate. However, the mysterious skeleton said that his memory was missing. Su Yin felt that it was too absurd. He felt that he was being perfunctory. I thought that I was severely injured and lost some of my memory. But after all these years of recuperation, my remnant soul has almost recovered. The most important memory shouldn't be missing. The mysterious skeleton said solemnly, I once speculated that I encountered an unfathomable enemy and had a part of my memory cut off. Su Yin felt his hair stand on end. What kind of existence could cut off the mysterious skeleton's memory? The mysterious skeleton's emotions fluctuated. What kind of existence was he? Even if he really encountered an invincible expert who grew up with the origin of life, a giant who could look down on the river of time and patrol the world, he might not be defeated. Even if he encountered it, he might not necessarily be defeated. Even if he was defeated, his memories would not be destroyed. Even if it was ridiculously severed, he would still be able to find some clues. But he didn't. It was really absurd. He used to think that he encountered a strange and forbidden thing that didn't belong to the three realms. Maybe the mysterious skeleton thought that he thought too much. Maybe he cut off that part of his memory himself. Or maybe because of some special and terrible factors, He lost a part of his memory and didn't want to remember it in this life. He didn't want the enemy to see through it. In general, there was a big problem involved. What was the origin? This was also the most important thing that troubled the mysterious skeleton. The mysterious skeleton sighed, his expression dim. He had once been glorious, powerful, and domineering, his might shaking the heavens. When he looked back, he was already a pile of withered bones. Even his most important memories had been lost, forgotten. Senior, I experienced some special things. Some clans and Black Calamity in the immortal world were looking for something. It seemed to be related to the heaven-burying cave. Su Yin said in a deep voice, but the heaven-burying cave is already in ruins. Do you think that the origin was taken away by them? Although the celestial world is broken, it can't be attacked at will. You have to pay a heavy price. The mysterious skeleton's words made Su Yin in a daze. Then he asked, the immortal world is also here, and the celestial gate has appeared. I don't know which side they belong to and what their attitude is. I'm very worried. Su Yin's heart was cold. The problems he faced were getting more and more complicated. Sometimes he really felt that his life was as cheap as grass. Su Yin was not in despair. He hadn't grown up yet, but he had to face the worst situation. Although the Black Calamity and the immortal world were nothing to the creatures in the world as long as they were not facing death, it didn't matter. But Su Yin was different. He was a prehistoric disciple of the heaven-burying cave and had enough special characteristics. If they don't have the realm-crossing platform, you don't need to worry. The mysterious skeleton said, no matter how long the immortal world's hand is now, it can't reach here in a short time. You don't need to worry. Cherish this precious time and rush to the sage realm as soon as possible. Su Yan's tense mind eased a lot, and then he was surprised. Was there some defense in the black-yellow universe? You just said to go to the immortal world. Do you have any way to take us to the immortal world? Yes, the mysterious skeleton said, but not now. You're too weak. Only when you become a sage can you be qualified to survive in the immortal world. Senior, if I really go to the immortal world, will I become a little ant? Su Yin said with a dark face. Although Su Yin wanted to go to the immortal world to see the geniuses in the world and strive for a bigger environment to grow up, what was the immortal world? What kind of place was the immortal world? They might even lose their lives. If Tao ancestors were like ants, they would really be throwing their lives away if they went. The sage is not weak. It's the mainstay. At this point, Su Yan's injuries were almost healed. He breathed out like thunder and found that his body was burning like a furnace of heaven and earth. Vaguely, more terrible substances were being bred in his flesh shell. He felt that the essence of life was going to complete a complete transformation. He had to cross a major hurdle and become an immemorial sage. What was this? This was the sage power, refined from the endless order of the universe. And just when this feeling was born, Su Yin vaguely felt that the pressure from heaven and earth came from the restraint of the great Tao. If he wanted to become a sage, he had to break all the obstacles. Senior, I feel that my body is much stronger than before. I can break through to the sage realm at any time. Su Yin said in surprise. The blood essence in his body surged, and it was very powerful and terrifying. It could easily suppress heaven and earth. I just used an ancient method to open a lot of treasures in your body. The mysterious skeleton commented, your physique is very strong. It will be more difficult for you to become a sage. Prepare early. Senior, I have many good brothers with great potential. Can you give them some pointers? Su Yin asked. The mysterious skeleton did not hesitate. He could bring them over for him to take a look. He also clearly told Su Yin that he would stay awake during this period. If there were any problems, he could find him as soon as possible. Su Yin was greatly shaken. It seemed that the mysterious skeleton also attached great importance to the next development. In short, with this colossus, he felt that the pressure was reduced a lot. He could discuss things if he encountered something big. After all, Dao Shui and Big Brother did not understand the immortal realm. But the mysterious skeleton was different. He must have been there before. Before leaving, Su Yin asked the mysterious skeleton, Did the Bury the Heavens have a tribe in the immortal realm? He was a tidal monarch. Could it be that he had really died? I'll tell you when we reach the immortal realm. The mysterious skeleton said, I feel the aura of the immortal realm. You go out first. The aura of the immortal realm. Su Yan's face suddenly sank. He rushed out quickly. The aura of the immortal realm. Could it be that there were powerful people from the immortal realm who crossed over? The realm-crossing platform mentioned by the mysterious skeleton. Could it be that the Cien people still had it? He felt a little bad. The immortal gate of the immortal realm had just appeared a few days ago. They came to the celestial court in such a hurry. Could it be that they were here to settle old scores? One had to know that the celestial court once had a terrifying existence that caused havoc in the immortal realm. They were definitely targeting the supreme emperor clans like the reincarnation emperor clan. Even the immortal realm came a million years ago. It was the celestial court that sent troops to stop them. There was a big grudge between them. Someone is coming. At this moment, there was a big storm in the black-yellow universe. There was an aura from the outer realm. It had a great influence. It could be said that it was very strong. It did not hide its aura at all. It formed a turbulent energy storm along the way and approached the black-yellow universe. Daozu, in the black-yellow universe, everyone was shocked. The aura from the outer universe was too strong. It was not just one Daozu. There were two Daozu approaching the black-yellow universe. They did not say a word and wanted to barge in directly. Halt! The old village head's face sank. The firewood chopper on his back shone. His sharp eyes stared at the two unscrupulous powerhouses who wanted to barge into the universe. One had to know that they were very confident. The leakage of energy had a great impact. If one person allowed them to barge in, it would destroy the territory of the black-yellow universe and might even kill some creatures. The old village head was very angry and almost could not hold back. I was wondering who it was. So it's you. The Heavenly Sun Elder walked out and stared coldly at the Yellow Sky Valley Master. He shouted, What are you doing here? In fact, the Heavenly Sun Elder was also puzzled. The Yellow Sky Valley Master, who was like a son of a bitch, was now very strong. He even had a face full of arrogance. What does it have to do with you? The Yellow Sky Valley Master's tone was very arrogant. He glanced at the Heavenly Sun Elder and snorted, Ask the person in charge of your world to come out and talk. What did you say? The old village head unsheathed his firewood chopper inch. His aura was also extremely cold. How dare a bullshit Yellow Sky Valley Master ask his big brother to come out and talk? Is this guy's brain broken? Didn't you hear what I said? The other powerhouse, who had been silent, spoke. His aura leaked out and emitted a mortal radiance. Immortal Realm Fight. The Flaming Emperor came. His expression changed, and his aura suddenly became terrifying. His entire body was bathed in immortal fire. She recognized that this was the powerhouse of the Cien people, the Tycoon Daozu. Although the Dao Shuyi had slaughtered a large number of powerhouses of the Cien people, some of them were not in the ancestral court. Immortal Realm Fight was one of them. Immortal Realm Fight naturally hated the black-yellow universe to the extreme. He wanted to destroy this universe right now. Junior, this old man's name is not something you can call directly. Impudent thing. Immortal Realm Fight's aura was extremely powerful. Of course, the thing that appeared behind him was even more terrifying. A golden decree flew across the sky and sprinkled down. The vast immortal aura was terrifying. This was just the decree in its dormant state. It was hard to imagine how powerful it would be once it was activated. The aura of the immortal world. The old village head's expression sank. The aura of this decree was similar to the immortal gate. The Flaming Emperor was furious. However, he could only suppress his anger and figure out what they were here for. Ha ha! The Yellow Sky Valley Master laughed proudly. They were very impressive before, but now they were suppressed by the decree. The old village head and the others had a gloomy expression. They did not come with good intentions. Go, ask the person in charge of your world to come out and receive the decree. The Yellow Sky Valley Master said majestically. Also, ask that woman to come out and receive the decree. How dare you? The old village head and the others were furious. What did they think they were? slaves that they could order around as they wished. They even asked the old village head and Dao Shi to come out and receive the decree. How preposterous! What do you want? Immortal Realm Fight said coldly. I'm warning you. This is the decree of the immortal world. It represents the will of the immortal world. If you go against it, you should know the consequences. Isn't it just a decree? Give it to me. When Su Yin arrived, he immediately stretched out his large hand, wanting to grab the golden decree that was suspended in the air. This scene angered the Yellow Sky Valley Master. He was so angry that he trembled. He pointed at Su Yin and scolded, Junior, a small immortal Dao cultivator dares to be disrespectful to us. Are you tired of living? If the old village head and the others wanted to grab the decree, they would not be so angry. However, Su Yin came. Old thing, do you think I'm afraid of you? Su Yin replied coldly. Ha! The Yellow Sky Valley Master almost laughed out loud. He really felt that Su Yin was crazy. A supreme being dared to be disrespectful to Daozu. He admitted that Su Yin had the means to defeat Daozu, but this was not his own method. He borrowed external force. The Yellow Sky Valley Master even wanted to raise his foot and crush Su Yin like an ant. At this moment, Su Yin's face was extremely gloomy. He heard a divine sense sweep over from the outer realm. The faces of the old village head and the others also turned gloomy at the same time. The Sword Sect's ancestor came to report that the immortal world wanted their clan's strongest to admit their guilt. Their attitude was very unfriendly, and they were told to ignore it. You're going too far. Su Yan's face changed in anger. His hair danced as he roared. Wait here. Haha, at least you know what's good for you. And you guys, we've been rushing all the way here and our mouths are dry. Why aren't you bringing the tea over? Seeing that Su Yin had left, the Yellow Sky Valley Master and the Immortal Realm Master smiled proudly. Su Yin had definitely gone to invite people. They had the will of the immortal world behind them. Who would dare to go against them? That's right, Su Yin had left. He ran very fast and crazily crossed all the way until he reached the place where the mysterious skeleton was sleeping. It's okay. It seems that they don't have the realm crossing platform. The mysterious skeleton was very direct. Don't worry. Don't talk about killing a few scum messengers. If you have the ability, killing a monarch Ingjia is nothing. It's not difficult for you to defeat an ordinary saint in your current state. Killing a few will also be beneficial for your breakthrough. Okay, Su Yin quickly returned. The terrifying aura in his body surged. He had been looking forward to defeating Daozu at the pinnacle of the immortal Dao for a long time. Big chapter. On the first day of the new year, I wish everyone a happy new year. Chapter 1770. Yellow Sky Valley Master and Immortal Realm Fight came with the decree of the Immortal Realm. Their attitudes were rude and unreasonable, and their expressions were quite arrogant. Flame Emperor and the rest were not afraid of these two Daozu. If they dared to come to Xianhuang Universe, they would have been suppressed. However, the situation was different now. This golden decree really came from the immortal world. Sword Sect Ancestor had already come to report. Although he did not show his true body, his primordial spirit could send a message. This made the old leader and the rest furious, asking the strongest of their race to accept their punishment. What punishment? Not a single expert from the immortal world showed up. They directly sent a decree to accept their punishment. This was too much. But now, they had to suppress their anger. They had to find out what the immortal world meant. Did this decree represent the will of the immortal world, or was it just the will of some races? This was especially important. Flame Emperor felt that this was caused by the Xian people's ancestor. There must be someone behind him in the immortal world. Maybe the experts in charge of the immortal world were in the Xian people's camp. I walked a long way. I'm thirsty. The Yellow Sky Valley Master also thought of himself as someone important. He acted as if he was being bossy and arrogant. You still want to drink tea? Bao Cai's face turned green. The two Daozu stood high and mighty, looking down on the entire Xianhuang universe. Xian Jinbo, especially, saw that Flame Emperor and the rest did not dare to use force. His attitude became even more rude and unreasonable. He called for the steward of the race to come out quickly. Yellow Sky Valley Master did not forget to add Su Yin. Although the immortal world sent a group of the strongest of the celestial court to accept their punishment, Su Yin could not be let go. He wanted to go with them. Master Baokai, what are you doing? Are you sick? A strong race in Xianwang universe was in an uproar. A group of experts came to receive Baokai. This race naturally boiled the most precious spirit tea and served it quickly. However, the next scene stunned them. Baokai vomited and almost vomited bile. He vomited a big basin. When he saw the group of old experts, he felt disgusted. "You're the one who's sick," cried the Baokai, making them boil a pot of tea with its saliva. The experts of this race were scared out of their wits. They were well aware that two giants from the outer realms had arrived and were clamoring for tea. What did the Baokai mean by spitting out its saliva? Could it be that it wanted to use its saliva to brew tea for them? The powerful bout-sized saliva was sparkling and translucent. The higher-ups of the clan did not dare to ask too much. They hurriedly boiled tea and gave it to the Baokai. Su Yin has been gone for so long. Why isn't he back yet? In the extraterritorial space-time, the Yellow Sky Valley Master's temper was getting worse. It had only been half an hour, and he could not wait any longer. He said coldly, "How long are you going to make us wait? The Celestial Court is too arrogant." The Heavenly Sun Elder was so angry that his lungs hurt. How long had it been? Who was the one who was being arrogant? Who gave the Yellow Sky Valley Master the courage to deliver the decree of the celestial world? He dared to behave atrociously in the black-yellow universe again and again. He really did not take them seriously. "Haha, seniors, don't worry. Su Yin has already left. It will take some time. You must be tired after such a long journey, right? Please take a seat." Baokai hurried over. In the beautiful starry sky of the extraterritorial space-time, he set up a table and chairs and personally invited them to take a seat. Fairyland Fight looked at Baokai in surprise, thinking that this kid was quite good at making trouble. Baokai was full of smiles. He served the spirit tea and grinned. "This is the best of the top 10 immortal teas in our world. Two esteemed emissaries, please have some tea." "Well said, well said." The Yellow Sky Valley Master laughed heartily. He became even more arrogant and proud. A few days ago, when he came to the black-yellow universe, he was made difficult and despised everywhere. Now, a Supreme was pouring tea for them. The treatment was completely different. The Yellow Sky Valley Master even cast a sidelong glance at the beautiful Yin Emperor. It seemed to be saying that they were the emissaries of the celestial world. Shouldn't it be the Yin Emperor who came to accompany them? The Yin Emperor clearly understood the Yellow Sky Valley Master's meaning. His face turned cold. He looked at Baokai and thought, what kind of fart can this guy come up with? It's fine to let him be the boss, but it's obviously wrong to let his grandson serve others. Humph. The Yellow Sky Valley Master snorted with a cold expression. A little Yin Emperor dares to throw a tantrum at me? He was not in a hurry. When the decree of the celestial world is read out, let's see if they still dare to make a fuss in front of me. There's no need for tea. The immortal realm Fight glanced at the fragrant spiritual tea and was worried that it might be poisoned. He said coldly, "The decree of the celestial world cannot be delayed. Hurry up and let them receive the decree. We have important matters to attend to." Baokai was anxious. It took him a lot of effort to spit out the tea. Why are you not giving him face? At the very least, you should taste it. Seeing Baokai signaling her with his eyes, Fairy Xia reluctantly walked over and forced a smile on her face. She said with a smile, "Seniors, why are you in such a hurry since you're already here? This is the best of the top 10 celestial teas in our world. Please help me taste it." The Yellow Sky Valley Master and the Immortal Realm Fight knew that Fairy Xia was an outstanding genius on the Emperor ranking. She was already in the Supreme Realm. To be honest, they were jealous. More and more young experts of the Celestial Court had stepped into the Supreme Realm. The future potential of this clan was terrifying. They must be nipped in the bud. This is the most precious celestial tea in our Xianwang universe. It's a national treasure. The Yellow Sky Valley Master was grinning from ear to ear when Fairy Xia personally served them the tea. Both Baokai and Fairy Zixia were geniuses on the emperor ranking. But now, the strongest one, Su Yin, had run out to deliver the news, and the other two were serving them tea. If this were to spread, it would cause a huge commotion. They were not ordinary people. Although they were not Daozu, they were still supreme geniuses. Since the tea was already in front of them, the two could not refuse. They did not believe that they would dare to poison it. They lifted the lid and took a big sip. This taste? The Yellow Sky Valley Master frowned slightly. He felt that there was an indescribable taste to the tea. Although it was suppressed by the tea's fragrance, there was still a trace of it in his heart. He could not tell what it was exactly. Baokai covered his mouth with his paws, afraid that he would laugh out loud. We've drunk the tea. Why isn't he here yet? Fairyland Fight shook his head. What kind of lousy tea is this? It's not even presentable. What bullsh asterisk tea top 10 celestial teas? A national treasure? Are you kidding me? Fairyland Fight felt that they were being perfunctory. He put on airs again and shouted. I remember that the Daozu tree and the Earth Immortal tree were taken away by Su Yin. Tell him to hand them over. The Yellow Sky Valley Master suddenly had an idea. The Xianhuang universe was not an ordinary tribe. He had a strange idea. Once the top experts of the Xianhuang universe left, this place would become his backyard. He's back. At this moment, Fairy Zixia's eyes were fixed on the figure that was coming from afar. Su Yan's movements were very fast as he rushed into the extraterritorial space. Why are you alone? Fairyland Fight's face darkened. He shouted. Did he go to deliver the news? Where did he go? The old leader and the others walked over. They wanted to know what news Su Yin had brought. Should they fight or not? They had had enough. As long as Su Yin said a word, they would directly go up and skin them alive. Su Yin thought for a while. Fairyland Fight was not easy to deal with. The Yellow Sky Valley Master was very old, and his chi and blood were declining. It would be easier to kill him. What are you looking at? The Yellow Sky Valley Master felt that Su Yan's eyes were not right. He said with a gloomy face, Where are the people you invited? How long do you want us to wait? We can't neglect the decree of the celestial world. Yellow Sky Valley Master, come here. Su Yin waved at him, as if he was calling for a follower. His posture was very arrogant. Are you calling me? The Yellow Sky Valley Master's old face suddenly became gloomy. Su Yin was waving at him. Why did it feel like he was calling for a puppy? His attitude was too arrogant. He was even more arrogant than them. He even thought that he had misheard and seen wrong. Come here. Su Yin waved once more and said, I brought the answer. Don't you want to know now? Little grasshopper, I want to see what you want to do. The Yellow Sky Valley Master was furious. He suddenly stood up and a terrifying aura descended. After all, he was a Daozu. Even though he was old and weak, his realm was still there. He walked towards Su Yin step by step. With every step he took, his aura surged a little. Very quickly, an energy current was formed here. It rumbled and roared, pressing down on Su Yin. He wanted to suppress him and make him kneel on the ground to apologize for his rudeness. From this, one could see that the Yellow Sky Valley Master was really confident. The old leader and the others were all here, but the Yellow Sky Valley Master was still suppressing the strongest expert of the younger generation. This was the arrogant attitude of a strong country against a weak one. It was quite rude and unreasonable, forcing them to kneel down and answer. An emperor and the others walked over. They did not leak their aura to help Su Yin. They knew how strong Su Yin was. Under the nourishment of the rank 9 evolution life essence liquid, he was much stronger than before. Daozu could charge at him at any time. The old leader and the others did not say anything. No matter what, they had to hold the situation first. Hee, the Yellow Sky Valley Master said coldly. I'm here. Tell me, what is the meaning of your tribe? Are my little brother and that woman still coming? This was an undisguised humiliation. The Golden Turtle ancestor was already dead. However, the Yellow Sky Valley Master, as the envoy appointed by the immortal world, did not put this tribe in his eyes at all. He once again called the prehistoric Big Brother as his little brother. Pretentious my ass. Su Yin raised his hand and slapped down. This attack covered the sky and covered the earth. Moreover, it was very fast and very violent. In an instant, Su Yan's large hand landed solidly on Yellow Sky Valley Master's face, causing a deafening sound to ring out. The Immortal Realm fight was stunned. He pointed at Su Yan and trembled slightly. What's going on? They were the envoys of the Immortal World. What was Su Yan doing? He slapped the old face of the Yellow Sky Valley Master directly. Wasn't this slapping the face of the Immortal World? However, they still did it without any mercy. Moreover, it was done by a junior. The Immortal Realm fight was a little flustered. Could it be that they were not afraid of the Immortal World? In fact, the Yellow Sky Valley Master was also dumbfounded. His head was buzzing and his face was hurting. His eye sockets were sunken and a few of his teeth were broken. Ah! The Yellow Sky Valley Master roared. His body was trembling and his hair was dancing. One had to admit that he was terrifying. The starry sky was rumbling and countless large cracks appeared. The sky was collapsing. There were too many large cracks. Ah! The Yellow Sky Valley Master roared again. His eyes were wide open and killing intent surged from his body. A junior dared to slap his face here. This was a great humiliation. This old man is crazy. Bao Kai roared at the top of his voice. Was it you who slapped him? Or was it because he drank this beast god's immortal tea? Rumble! The Yellow Sky Valley Master and the Immortal Realm fight only felt 5 thunders rumbling. The world was a little dark and they were a little dizzy. The two were so angry that their lungs were trembling. What kind of tea was that? Bao Kai vomited again. He took out a big cauldron and sucked in the spiritual spring water inside. He rinsed his mouth and said angrily, "It's a little disgusting. 2 old farts drinking this beast god's immortal tea. Just thinking about it makes me sick. I'm warning you, don't think about this beast god's immortal tea formula." Be asterisk starred, the two roared. Their primordial spirits were trembling. Boundless anger spread out. Monstrous killing intent filled the air as if it was going to destroy the world. Chapter 1771. They really collapsed. Their bodies and minds were about to split apart, and their faces were frighteningly gloomy. This was the greatest humiliation in their lives. They were so angry that they were about to explode. Green smoke was coming out of their nostrils, and they felt nauseous. They wanted to vomit for 3 days and 3 nights. It was too disgusting. The tea they just drank was bout-sized saliva tea. They didn't dare to recall the scene. They were so angry that their bodies were trembling. Their holy aura was constantly emitting from their bodies, causing the sea of stars to tremble. What's wrong with them? In the mysterious yellow universe, the powerhouses of various races were shocked when they saw the scene in the Outerverse. The 2 Daozu had gone crazy, and their roars shook the universe. They were really in a berserk state, and their bodies were spewing out black gas. Were they going to die from anger? Originally, they were very arrogant, and they deliberately took advantage of the mysterious yellow universe's powerhouses. After all, the celestial world had come, and they also came with a supreme decree. Would the mysterious yellow universe dare to be presumptuous? That was simply impossible. They could bully him however they wanted. But now, they were really doubting their lives. They drank the saliva tea and were slapped in the face. It was a great humiliation. The void around the 2 Daozu exploded. Everything was destroyed, and the energy tide derived from it was going to tear all the powerhouses of the mysterious yellow universe apart. They were really crazy, especially the Yellow Sky Valley Master who was slapped in the face. He was so angry that his whole body was trembling. He stared at Su Yan and roared, "Little bastard, I'm going to skin you alive. Skin you alive. Kill!" His aura became more and more shocking, and he was very close to Su Yan. He directly erupted and raised his big hand to suppress Su Yan's head. In an instant, the old village chief unsheathed his woodcutter and wanted to kill the Yellow Sky Valley Master. At the same time, they also completely let go. Su Yan dared to do this, which meant that the celestial world's hand couldn't reach here. In any case, some groups of the celestial world were targeting the entire celestial court. Even if it was a life and death struggle, they couldn't go and confess. Otherwise, they would be lambs waiting to be slaughtered. "Let me do it." Su Yan stepped forward. At this moment, he erupted with his strongest combat strength. Heaven and earth rumbled as the energy essence all over his body leaked out. It had to be said that the scene was quite spectacular. His entire body seemed to have transformed into a holy dragon that rushed straight to the peak of the blue dome of heaven. Surging waves of energy swept out, drowning out space-time. This was a shocking scene. Su Yin was still not Daozu, but the energy fluctuations that he emitted were too majestic. It was spectacular to the extreme, and almost covered the entire outerverse. Could it be the human sovereign Su Yin can fight against Daozu? There was a hubbub of voices in the mysterious yellow universe. Too many cultivators were exclaiming in shock and excitement. Had Su Yin already become a Daozu? They felt that this was definitely the case. As Su Yin released his strongest battle prowess, even the Yellow Sky Valley Master's giant hand was blocked. One had to know that he was facing a giant, the big Luo Daozu. Little B asterisk starred, "Come and die." The Yellow Sky Valley Master was still in a state of madness. His giant hand was blazing, rippling with supreme order and rules, causing his palm print to be grand and majestic. It was like a giant palm that suppressed the universe came crashing down, shattering Su Yan's blood essence. Kill! His eyes were red as he roared continuously to vent the fury in his heart. The Yellow Sky Valley Master's aura was very fierce. His hair danced as if he had gone mad. His giant hand bombarded with iron-blooded and tyrannical force. It seemed that he wanted to kill Su Yin with a single slap. The old leader and the others were a little worried, but they resisted the urge to attack. They wanted to take a deeper look at how powerful Su Yan's ultimate strength was. One had to know that Su Yin had not activated the Heaven's Burial Cave yet. Roar! Su Yan's hair danced as he roared into the sky. His blazing body exploded with monstrous chanting sounds. 3 scriptures combined into one. The scripture of the universe bloomed, surging with terrifying order and rules. Although it had not evolved into the great path same power, this scripture was too abnormal. The 3 scriptures combined into one, forming a universe with myriad of strange phenomena. So what if it was Daozu? Su Yin still had the confidence to strike. With the belief that he was invincible, he attacked forcefully. Boom! His fist imprint blossomed, and the energy and order around his body rumbled. This fist seemed to have blasted out a vast universe, forcibly blocking the supreme order and law. It even formed a type of stalemate, evolving into a terrifying domain. Good! The old leader shouted excitedly. Su Yin really had the combat strength to compete with Daozu. The old man Tianyang's heart was in turmoil. A supreme being attacking Daozu? This really did not conform to common sense, but Su Yin had indeed done it. The scripture that he had cultivated was too astonishing. It had withstood the suppression of the supreme order without being destroyed. Kill! Su Yin roared again. His fist print was terrifying, and his physique bloomed. In an instant, he became terrifying with endless ferocity, shocking everyone. What was this? His body was extraordinary, comparable to Daozu's. Inside Su Yan's flesh shell, the light of 10,000 physiques appeared and merged into one. It tore the sky apart and suppressed time and space. It was incomparably majestic. This was Su Yan's strongest physique. It was like the chaotic physique, the celestial physique, the heaven burial physique, and the invincible divine fetus that had been sleeping for billions of years. It bloomed with unparalleled potential. In short, Su Yin pushed his strongest force and punched the Yellow Sky Valley Master's palm print. Boom! There was a loud explosion. There was a huge explosion of energy. If the old leader and the others were not here to hold the line, the destructive storm would have spread to the universe. Puff! The Yellow Sky Valley Master coughed up blood. His majestic robe was torn, and he was almost sent flying. The Yellow Sky Valley Master roared. His eyes were red. Even though Su Yin had borrowed external force, he was still injured. He was not a match for his opponent. Su Yin was also injured. His fist was bleeding, and his bones could be seen. This was the pressure of his opponent's Tao and Dharma power that hurt his fist. However, this did not affect Su Yan's strongest combat power. Kill! Su Yan's battle blood surged as he charged forward once again. He unleashed his strongest attack against the Yellow Sky Valley Master. Junior! The eyes of the Yellow Sky Valley Master almost popped out of their sockets. A mere sovereign had dared to kill him by relying on an external force. How could he shrink back? Once again, he charged forward to fight with Su Yan. At the same time, he also unleashed his strongest combat strength. At the same time, the Immortal Realm Master wanted to retreat. He felt that something big must have happened. The universe was not afraid of the Immortal Realm. If he did not retreat, he would die. Old turtle, you drank my saliva soup and still want to escape? Tai Baokai was the first to rush over. He raised his head and said coldly, I saw that you were reminiscing about it. I'm warning you, don't think about my saliva tea recipe. You won't be able to drink the national treasure tea in the future. Little bastard, I'm going to skin you alive. The Immortal Realm Master was really mad. He cursed and was speechless. He did not know what he was cursing about. In short, he was so angry that he was about to explode. He was so aggrieved that he was about to collapse. At this moment, Fairy Zixia and the East Demon stepped out. They were holding Daozu's holy weapon. They also bathed in the level 9 life essence evolution liquid. Their progress in the past 10 years was shocking, although they were not as abnormal as Su Yan. However, the three of them together had the confidence to fight Daozu. Endless humiliation swept through the Immortal Realm Master's chest. However, he was really panicking now. Were they going to kill them? The Immortal Realms is not respected. Are they not afraid of being exterminated? The Immortal Realm Master threatened. This was the last straw. He hoped that it could suppress them. However, Baokai and the rest did not say a word. The three young paragons rushed up one after another. Along the way, they took out their killing weapons. They wanted to fight Daozu to the death. Originally, the Flame Emperor wanted to beat the Immortal Realm Master up and leave him to Baokai and the rest. However, it seemed that the situation did not need to. She sighed and shook her head. She waited for Su Yan and the rest to enter Daozu's realm. In the future, there would be fewer and fewer opportunities for her to act. However, she felt that she was still very young and had a lot of room for growth. You guys are just seeking temporary gratification. I'm not afraid. The Immortal Realm Master's hair danced. He was panicking and angry. He did not expect that they would dare to attack. This was the Xianwang universe. If the younger generation attacked, how could the older generation just sit there and watch? Stop wasting your breath. Baokai and the rest had already charged over. The scene was a little scary. Three young paragons besieged one Daozu. The battle had just started, but it had already reached its climax. Roar! The Yellow Sky Valley Master and the Immortal Realm Master roared. This was a great humiliation. The younger generation of the Celestial Court wanted to defeat the older generation of Daozu. At the same time, they felt despair. Was this the final battle when they were alive? No matter if they won or lost, they were destined to not live. Die! Little bastard, give me your life. The Yellow Sky Valley Master roared. At this moment, he seemed to have gone crazy. Even if he really died, he would not die in the hands of Su Yan. Kill! The Yellow Sky Valley Master's strongest power gushed out. The sky was filled with supreme order and rule power. He seemed to be using the ultimate power that the universe could bear. The killing power was enough to reach billions of strands. Even his declining blood chi was roaring. The scene was even more serious than the collapse of heaven and earth. The outer space was filled with the source of destruction. It was like a meteor shower. This was a Daozu going crazy and a big shot roaring in anger. Boom! It was as if billions of mountains were pressing down. Su Yan's corporeal body trembled and found it difficult to breathe. The killing power descending from the sky was too abnormal. Even his body could not bear it. He was really going to self-destruct. The old chief and the others were nervous. They were ready to support Su Yan at any time. At first, they thought that Su Yan would use the power of the Heaven-Burying Cave. Who would have thought that Su Yan would also go completely berserk? A series of great divine abilities were released. The 4-day-song beasts roared. Gods and devils danced wildly. The Eye of Chaos rotated. One had to admit that this was very terrifying. Suyan's body seemed to be burning. All kinds of terrifying energy, rain whistled out. In the end, Suyan's magic power overflowed. His divine power was terrifying, and his blood chi was boundless. It shook the great universe. He seemed to have turned into a beam of light that could split heaven and earth. A series of great divine abilities were released. The instant they collided, the heaven-splitting technique erupted. He seemed to have turned into a floating light that cut off the great universe. He attacked with a rumble. Elder Tianyang's heart was filled with astonishment. Had the era of supreme beings slaughtering Daozu arrived? Su Yin was incomparably valiant under the accompaniment of dozens of great divine abilities. His roar shook the sea of stars. Kill! He roared. His endless reserves were ignited and completely erupted. It shook the great universe. A series of killing power was released. It was too shocking. Yellow Sky Valley Master was forcibly sent flying. His body smashed through the great stars of the universe. The scene was unreal.